Welcome back to the Four Horsemen. Today, we were planning on doing an episode about the Gaimin Gladiators and them dropping out of TI, and we will still do that. But there are also some other issues which very suddenly arrived on our doorstep, including the FGC's Evo now being owned by Saudi Arabia. Not surprising result, but what was surprising, well, not really surprising, was the reaction of the FGC, which we'll be discussing. But first up, Richard, you did some reporting on the Superfan situation at Esports World Cup. And for those of you who don't know, EWC doesn't have crowds. They don't have an audience. And that was a big problem last year because they had to do, as we saw in the EWC documentary, some very creative shots to make it look like there were actually people at this event, clustering them all into one part of the studio and then taking a shot of that. And all of course, the fans that were there were fans of Falcons. And so this year, in order to diversify the crowd, they have chosen to create a Superfan program where if you are a fan of a team that's competing in EWC, say Team Liquid, they can fly you out to Riyadh, all expenses paid trip to cheer in the audience. So, Richard, what did you discover about the Superfan program?
Yeah, basically, just before we get started, this is another classic Four Horsemen with Three Horsemen and multiple topics, a grab bag episode. So it's basically like when Rick and Morty do interdimensional cable. We're just fucking ad-libbing all this shit. So we'll see how it goes.
Also, in the case of we were planning on doing the Gaimin Gladiators stuff, but TI is literally about to start. And
yeah, we were going to get a guest, and then everyone was locked up for media.
Right.
So for TI, so the worst timing, really. But look, I'll also add as well, I have told the guys we should just rebrand as the Horsemen. 3, 4, 2. One of us dies, it can still happen.
Do the joke again and again that the fourth horseman is competitive integrity or conflict of interest, the most misunderstood figure and concept in esports.
Or the fourth horseman is you, the listener.
Could be that
it can make it fucking lame like that.
But yeah, guys, obviously it makes it so it's easier for us to schedule this and also get them out regularly for you because we've been doing more of this show than ever. So we will still get guests. We got a lot of guests planned. Don't you worry about it.
Since we're doing a bit of fourth wall breaking, I still think the funniest part that a lot of fans, it'll be lost on them, is this is what an optimistic, eternal, unquenchable optimist Monty is. Monty's original concept for this show was straight fire. It just doesn't work in practice. His idea was that you, the community, would actually ask for what you need us to address. You would raise the banner of the Four Horsemen must talk about this. And then what would happen is you'd all collectively, like democracy, partake. You'd have your voices collectively spoken towards us, and then we would address it. And what we found was none of you would ever do the first part. You're all just lazy. You just sat back like, nah, waiting for someone else to, and then you never did. Then you never retweeted it. And so eventually we had to scrap that whole thing, and we just do it ourselves now. Like sound.
It was also the fact that the Twitter.
It was a great concept.
The Twitter algorithm was actually changed as well, so it became harder to do the retweeting thing. Right. And also, we had to get guests and then have them sit there while the retweets happened.
That's true.
So,
the worst ones were the ones where we misjudged should it be 500 or 1,000 retweets. Those ones where you were sat on like 700 for like another hour, like fucking hell, boys, get this thing cracked down. Let's just do it, shall we? And then sadly, the worst people in esports, I think, were the ones that people call people out who never do anything. They would then do the most disingenuous angle ever, like, oh, so now you're using women's suffering to farm Twitter. No, it's just the mechanism of the show. Like, but, I mean,
I do remember that one.
Spin that to me that we're totally evil again as usual.
Listen, I don't know about you, Duncan, but if I can't spend the hard currency of women's suffering, what the fuck am I even doing? Why do I even get out of bed?
It was a simpler time before everybody folded to Saudi Arabia and now can't say those things anymore.
Weirdly enough, women's suffering, not a big topic of conversation anymore. You know what I mean?
An hour back was like 1,000 imaginary internet likes. It wasn't even money to get it.
See, it turns out that there wasn't enough money to pay for the women suffering, Richard. So now there is.
Well, no, exactly. There wasn't enough women suffering to go around, so we had to bring in the experts in women suffering. Now they're here, and now the women are suffering, and everyone's getting paid to not talk about it. So reasonable stuff. Anyway, Esports World Cup Superfans. Monty's beautifully described what the Superfans are. And ultimately, the reason they did Superfans this time around was because they had concerns not just about crowd size, but obviously as well about diversity, because if you got the crowd full, but it was all Saudi nationals in the Saudi national dress, and you're calling it a World Cup, those photos don't look great. And, we've got previous for this in other sporting events, like in the Qatar World Cup for soccer, where it was very apparent at some of the games, some of the fans were probably bussed in, so to speak, to, cheer on for the certain countries. And, that's fine. I think ultimately, I don't have a problem with trying to make an event accessible per se, but the problem with this is just the horrifying how inauthentic it really is and how it panned out. And so there was a lot of concerns that were being brought up to me by superfans. As I said on a previous episode, I had a few superfans go out there and they said, as soon as we get back, we'll talk to you. I also found this out. This is funny. I don't know if it applies to us, but my YouTube channel is banned in Saudi Arabia.
Really?
Yep.
Interesting.
Two of the superfans that I interviewed tried to access my videos.
We need to now find out if Last Free Nation is as well, because if so, we need to actually make that like a marketing campaign, like the channel the Saudis don't want you to watch. You have to do some shit like that to make it sound
I'm 100% sure. If Richards is banned, we're definitely banned. We've had so many episodes directly on
I can actually, hang on.
What's weird is Travis Gafford's isn't banned, but you still don't get any traffic. Whatever.
It says here,
he's got now.
The message that comes up when you try to access me, it goes, this video is restricted. Please check the Google Workspace Administrator and/or the Network Administrator restrictions. Now, I don't know if that's a statewide thing or like a temporary thing for the hotel for the Esports World Cup. I have no idea. But anyway,
they just go door to door and put a device Cronenberg style on. That's the Richard Lewis overrider. And if any of your data comes in, it's. And then
possible, man. Like
it's very similar to Riot's Richard Lewis alarms that trigger when he gets
By the way, Richard, you have to
that's also a real thing.
Low key, you have to admit, this doesn't actually annoy you. Low key, it sort of actually is like ego inflation. I bet it feels
It's
awesome
the first hard-on I've had in a month.
There you go. Okay. Because that's pretty cool. That's actually like sort of a flex, really.
And that leads us into our new sponsor.
What's that dick pill? Where's this going? I know.
You get sponsored by a Viagra. You send some my way. They're just a good party pill.
It's
Use
true.
them responsibly.
Don't worry, I'm working on it.
So anyway,
wait, I'm not even joking. If you actually did have a really good one, Monty would consider it. Like he'd be like, "Don't buy those ones at the gas station. Get the new dick pill 5,000." Yeah,
I'm not joking. I am working on it.
Okay,
buy the. Want to fuck like a stallion? 4 Horsemen dick pills.
There you go.
Like, it's time. So anyway, there were a number of serious concerns about this, and the obvious one was that there might be bias towards certain groups of fans, i.e. Falcons versus everyone else. And so my eyes on the ground were able to sort of kind of confirm a few things that I thought were interesting and funny, because Falcons have always been framed as being this like powerhouse esports org, esports org of the year, according to the Esports Awards, now owned by Saudi.
They technically don't acknowledge the connection. They just claim responsible.
And every time you ask the CEO, MS Dossery, which by the way, his first name being Mossad will never not be funny. I'll fucking say that.
I know. They write themselves, don't they?
He was just a FIFA player, right? That built an org. And in 2017, they weren't relevant. And in 2019, they weren't really relevant. They didn't really compete in all of these disciplines. Then in 2021, they get a big sponsor, apparently some private investment. And then all of a sudden, they can afford to buy everything under the fucking sun. And you're supposed to not ask questions about that.
Right around the time everyone else can't get investment in these sports.
Yeah, weird, isn't it?
A bit suspicious in it, yeah.
Yeah. So ultimately, he won't ever say, who is fucking, who's doing the investment or whatever. And nobody can really compel them to, because no one has an interest in compelling them to do it, because it would really start to, it's already...
Valve could do it, but they already decided they don't give a fuck about that years ago, sadly. So
they're not coming. Valve's never coming. Put it this way, if Valve were the Lone Ranger, you know what I mean? You're just fucking, you're on them train tracks every time, homie. You're just fucking dead, bro. So anyway... The bottom line is that there was Falcons. They really the Esports World Cup isn't designed just to sports wash for the Saudi Arabian state. It's also designed to basically to basically frame Falcons as being this incredibly competent, successful esports organization. It's a very explicit purpose of this. The entire concept of the Esports World Cup is to have Falcons win every time without fail. The best non-Falcons organization is going to get his second place. And lo and behold, Falcons did win it this time. They won it this time by winning fewer tournaments than last time. They won 1 tournament. Team Liquid won 3, and I think 2 of the orgs won 2. So the way the points works, it's just volume over quality. That's just how that works. And Falcons won by like 1,000 points still, which is a relative canter. That's like winning a whole extra tournament, essentially. So anyway, because of that, they want to make it look like Falcons are this super engaged fan base that absolutely love it. But what my eyes on the ground told me, what these Superfans told me, was when they got there, they quite literally saw staff handing out fresh jerseys to people. Like, oh, what size are you? What size are you? Oh, okay, take this. They also had apparently for the CS2 tournament, and I will be clear here, I did use language that made it sound like every tournament, and it was just CS2 I was talking about, so I've done an editor's note on the article now. But the other teams were told, like, no drums or musical instruments, and obviously if you think about like Vitality and
it's actually a big thing in Counter-Strike.
Yeah, the Hornets, they're quite a big thing. All the Brazilian fans love to do it too. Yeah. And anyway, they were told for CS absolutely not. And then my Superfan spies, they saw staff smuggling in, well, not smuggling in because it's their event, they can just do what they want. Staff were allocated to take in the drums for the Falcons fans. And they were giving out banners to the Falcons fans. I've got photographs of this. They're in the article. So there was a really heavy bias. But then here's the funniest part to me. The quote goes, "You could tell the Falcon fans were given incentives to come. They were being given free jerseys. They had a leaderboard for cheering. Or so I was told by the Falcons fans. The fan coordinators would give points to the fans that cheered the most, and then those fans could take those points and redeem them on a website for prizes, which if you go to the website, the prizes even include iPhones." So, like, the fan...
That sounds like a scam you see on the internet. Like, redeem your cheering points for a new iPhone. Yeah. Click here, like...
Please... provide us with your social security number.
Exactly. It seems unreal, does it? That's, by the way, that's also the thing I love about this whole Saudi sports washing. Because of the scale and the money, it all sounds like some onion shit. It doesn't even sound like it could be real. It's beyond parody, isn't it?
Yeah. If anyone wants to check out the website, it's fans.falcons.sa. I would use a VPN if you're clicking on it, just to be safe. But what you will see there is quite clearly there is a thing where it says you can redeem prizes through this mechanism. I'm sure what detractors of my reporting will say is, there was no point system, there's no proof of that, it was never written down anywhere, blah, blah, blah. And it's just, we're just giving our fans the fan experience. Any org could have done this the same. Also, it is an unwritten rule, by the way, if you participate in the Esports World Cup, you can't upstage Falcons in any way. If they have a super cool idea, you can't do it. So just don't do that. Don't do it if Falcons do it. So, heavy bias towards Falcons fans. The other thing, and this should surprise absolutely nobody that knows anything about Saudi Arabia, they were being censored. The fans were being censored quite heavily in the crowd, right? Oh, shit. I've missed out a key detail here. I should have said right at the start. In this, a lot of this, some of this, I don't know exactly how much, was reported by another journalist at Esports News UK, called Dara Harbinson, and I sat on the article for about a week because one of the sources that talked to me must have talked to him, and he typed it up faster than me, I guess because he's like young and hungry and not a jaded old piece of shit. And so I was like, well, I don't want to put it out on like the same day or the day after. Like, he's earned that like a motherfucker. That's how that goes, If you type quicker, you get the story. That's that. So anyway, you should totally support that guy. And click.
It's a good piece, actually. Yeah, pretty good.
Because he definitely brought this part up as well.
Yes,
and that was so for starters. the signs were being censored. Somebody had held up a sign that said Mzinho King, the Mongols player, and he was told that he would have to take that sign. They would have to confiscate that sign, or he would be kicked out of the event. So, and why? Because the use of the word king. Because there can be only one king, guys. You know, I hope you'll realize that. In the kingdom of Saudi Arabia, there is only one king. And so anyone else being the king, even in a...
That's actually a sensitive issue, is the notion. It's the notion that because he isn't the king currently, he doesn't have the power, you're not even allowed to refer to anyone as the king. By the way, there's a couple of things on this.
Yeah.
One, first of all, when I actually saw this story, I actually wondered, is this going to be a nothing burger? Because, for example, there are things that people can jump on that if you don't know the specifics of might not be sinister. Like, I'll give you an example. In that same reporting, the Superfan is initially, before they tell you what's on the sign, Monty, saying stuff like, and they were checking signs and scanning them. They should do that at events.
Yeah, they should
by the way,
Yeah,
that's one thing I criticise other events for, when they let, like, foreign languages they don't speak go on a sign. That could say anything, mate. That could say something really outrageous. So I don't have a problem with that. But again, even when you say, by the way, they took the sign away, well, I'm thinking, well, does the sign say, like, you know, fuck Saudi Arabia or something mental? No. When it turns out the sign does just say Mongoats, Mzinho King, right? There's nothing even edgy about that, Monty. They're just saying Mzinho from Mongols is the king.
Yeah.
Like, but here's the point I want to make to people. When you hear people from the West tell you this fugazi notion that we're going to culturally change the Saudis because they want to be like us, this is proof that will never happen. Because they won't even allow us to, in a pretend funny way, call someone a king, because ideologically, as Richard says, there can be only one king and we don't talk about him. Like, that is the word. You are entering that world where essentially you have to self-censor or be censored. That's the word. It's not, there's no, because notice in this scenario, by the way, they know these fans are Western fans who know nothing about the king thing. There's not really any issue, but I'll tell you one reason why that's like more sinister than people realize. That's like that shit, Monty. You know that famous thing where there was that bizarre thing in China where, like, you couldn't have, like, time travel in movies because it would imply there could have been an alternate universe when the CCP isn't in control. We laugh at that in the West.
The
we don't realize.
But
we don't realise that is actually, like, valid. Like, if you do let people think of certain ideas, they will draw certain conclusions eventually.
Oh, sure.
So what this actually shows you is Saudi Arabia is not some burgeoning secular society in which there is freedom of expression. There isn't. They literally want to control what you even think and say in Saudi Arabia. A fucking silly kids video game tournament. Like, that's why this is, like, not only sports washing, this is essentially spreading Saudi values. It just is.
Yep. And it wasn't just that, though. Obviously, chants were being heavily vetted. And again, I'll just read the quote. There was a guy walking around who didn't speak English, who was using a phone to Google Translate signs and would take away anything that was vaguely offensive. Security were telling us what you could and couldn't chant.
The way to skip ahead, this is why anyone, let's say later in the episode, who tells you when I go there, I'm going to say all sorts of, you
won't.
I'll tell you right now, you won't. You not only won't. Two, it wouldn't be good. And three, they won't put it on air, you dickhead. So that I can say right now, this shows that.
If you want to martyr yourself in a gesture that no one's even going to see,
don't do it. Genuinely, don't. Even if you're a dickhead, don't do it.
Just
probably not a good idea. But anyway, the mouse fans were chanting, "You spent millions" to Falcons, right? You spent millions.
By the way, that would be tame as fucking football, mate. Just shout that to, like, Man City or something.
You have to realise that when David Beckham was, for a time, the most despised footballer in England, the chant on the terraces was, "She takes it up the arse, Posh Spice, his wife, takes it up the arse." And by the way, you would hear that on Match of the Day.
No, when you're like 15, you're like, what?
You would hear it on Match of the Day, and the commentators just have to pretend that's not happening in the background. So.
And by the way, I've always told this story. The thing that made me actually love sports, Richard, it's a bit toxic, I won't lie, is I remember going to a game when I was like 12 or something, and the whole crowd chanting, "The referee's a wanker," and he had to just take it. He had to just tank that because he can't keep the whole crowd out. I remember thinking, this is fucking brilliant. Spoiler, that's not going to be the sports.
Probably the most unreasonable behaviour I've ever seen at a football game, because I lived in Middlesbrough, and even though I'm a Newcastle fan, they'd had this wicked new stadium, the Riverside Stadium.
Yeah.
So I would just
by
go
the way,
down.
Borough fans go hard, motherfucker.
Yeah. Oh, they're mental. Yeah. I would just go down to the because they had a decent team. You had Janino, Emerson, fucking Ryan
Robson,
Ravanelli.
also Ravanelli.
It was a decent team, even though Robson managed them at the bottom of the table somehow. So anyway, I would go to Borough games, and I had pretty decent seats because the person whose ticket I used to get, he was right there on the fucking right. Anyway, I saw a marginal offside decision was given, and the guy next to me stood up. He threw a full meat pie at the linesman, screaming, "Linesman, I hope you die of cancer."
Jesus.
Just British sports.
By the way, that is considered sports banter. It is. And
Yeah.
I've also seen
by the way,
the same
nobody
stadium,
blinked.
Richard. No, I've also at the same
No
stadium.
one said anything.
To be fair, this is
him.
20 years ago.
Fuck him.
But I'll tell you, I once went to a game of Middlesbrough Football Club where people thought it was already 15 years later. Some kids came who were supporting, I don't know, Spurs or something, mate. And they tried to do that thing where when Spurs scored and they were in the Borough area, they jumped up like, and someone just behind them goes, "Sit the fuck down." And all you need to know is they sat down and didn't talk for the rest of the fucking thing. Like, all I'm telling you guys is this isn't American sports where everyone has like the fans.
Yeah, you're all
like,
mixed
hey,
up.
and you're all wearing the Lakers jersey, like,
Yeah, like in rugby.
No.
Nah,
So to me, that's the standard, mate. I'm used to like the crowd can banter. It's totally organic. This just seems completely artificial, doesn't it?
But anyway, to the point, chanting "you spent millions" to Falcons, and then having
Not even that
security
offensive,
come
by
over
the
and
way.
tell you you can't chant that or you will be thrown out. Like that's ridiculous. That's like
Also gives away sort of that maybe you just fund Falcons. You know what I mean? Like you're not even trying at this point. You're not even pretending it's a separate org. Come on.
Then, because Falcons in CS hilariously got knocked out in the semi-finals, they weren't in the final. They played a third place decider to basically no fanfare, and then the stadium, the stands, the auditorium, I don't know what the fuck to call it, it was empty for the final. And again, I got a video of just an empty stadium being played, all this finals being played. But the team that knocked out Falcons, when they were playing Falcons, they complained about having like lasers being shined in their eyes.
Oh yeah, Aurora.
Yeah,
the Turks.
Yeah. Now they're not lasers. They had these glow sticks, right, that you could hold up. But if you just peel the top off,
there's just a sticker. There's just a sticker at the top.
When you peel off the fun Saudi friendly sticker, it's a bloody laser that can be shined in their eyes. But don't do that, anyone. Whatever you do, don't do that. Give me a break. It's
so basically, when a team was playing Falcons, they got the fucking eyes dazzled. The manager complained, and the security did nothing. They said, "What can we do? I don't know. Take them away from people."
People taking the signs away, mate. You can take that away. It's fine, can't you?
You can take a sign away with the word "king" on it, but you can't take a fucking glow stick away. It's got no sticker on the top, so you know they're doing it. Can't do that. Nah, can't do that. Anyway, Aurora still won and made it to the final, so that was hilarious. Then you also had Navi, who are obviously one of the big orgs that are like proselytizing. We've talked about this a lot.
Yeah,
just in case it's your first 4-3-2 Horseman episode. Basically, there's like 3 orgs that are the Nazgul for Sauron being the Saudi Arabian state / the Esports World Cup. And that is Navi, Vitality, and Team Liquid. Behind the scenes, they're the ones corralling everyone, telling them, no, we should all stand together, fuck PGL, do all this other stuff. And they're doing it. They were the ones that strong-armed everyone, so now they get paid appearance fees. They were the ones that said, all the payment structure should be done around popularity. Incredibly. Yeah, Navi, the most watched org on the planet. Yep. Fishing for that one, of course. And so anyway, this is another hilarious component to it. Navi were in the tournament, 16 teams, and it's one knockout and you're done.
Well, this one, Monty, do you know what happened with the Navi fans?
On the day they were playing,
this one's really good.
They flew like 60 fans, which was like the upper bracket of the Superfans program out. So they flew their fans.
They were also playing a massive underdog, by the way. They were supposed to
on that day when they were playing 3D Max.
Yeah,
right,
easy.
So they're playing
that one. Don't worry about it.
Anyway, they lose. So by the time the Navi fans land for the Counter-Strike tournament,
I love it.
Navi's not in the tournament.
Exactly.
But because there's a stipulation in the Superfan contract that fans have to attend a minimum of 80% of all games.
Fucking hell.
They're just like there now. No, you can't even have a free holiday. Like you can't. Oh well, the team's out. Thanks for bringing us here. Can we go and just check out Riyadh? No, you will come. You will watch teams you hate. And it was so bad that they even were bringing Na'Vi fans into the Crossfire tournament that was running at the same time.
Yeah.
And if you look at the footage of the Crossfire tournament on stream, there's just Na'Vi fans. Crossfire is like, it's obviously like a mega Asian game. You know,
we would consider it like a shit CS, though, wouldn't we?
It's a terrible
kind of
Asian CS
similarities.
club.
You could kind of follow it, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, perhaps my favorite part of this was that basically for the CS finals, they were moving the time around because it had to be on MBS's schedule. So the crowd prince.
Well, there were two things there.
All right.
First, yes, they had to do a full security sweep before MBS could turn up. So they switched the security on the last day to this TSA style. Everyone's through a metal detector.
Is that how the mousepad got stolen by one of the players? Fucking hell, yeah, that's mad.
Basically, in that melee, because they did it to the players as well.
Right.
There was no exceptions made if you were a competitor. Woxic for Aurora. By the way, let's just say an idiosyncratic player on a good day.
Definitely not afraid to fucking speak out, I'll tell you that much.
Oh, no, well, he's like a little bit peanut-brained on this.
Sure, he's a weird
you
guy.
probably do just back... You don't tweet, I have had my mouse pad stolen.
I know.
While you were in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in Riyadh, where, by the way, theft doesn't happen, but if it does, the perpetrator's, his hands
Yeah,
off.
ran cops, exactly. Yeah, for real. Remember, they used to have an area that they really did.
Just go to your manager, say, the mouse pad's disappeared.
Yes.
There's millions of them, mate. It's not like some obscure out-of-print mouse pad.
true.
They're using one of the current ones.
True.
It's Saudi. They will fucking helicopter one in from a hardware store. You just know, peripheral store. You don't need to bring it up, but he did bring it up. He tweeted it out. And basically, again, my eyes on the ground, what they said was the most likely outcome was it got put in one of the trays and it either got misplaced, right? Because it's a mouse pad, not the most important bit of kit, or someone has just gone, I'll be having that. So to be fair, the team that knocked out Falcons in Saudi also did have something stolen from them.
Crazy, man. That's almost like a reprisal.
And it's like, look,
isn't it?
I wouldn't make these connections, but I know, despite what people say, I like to be fair. If we go hard in the paint about the Brazilian fans in Brazil, spitting on people and doing all this other shit, then I'm just going to say, well, that doesn't look great optically, does it? So I'm sure it was innocent because no one would ever steal in Saudi, obviously. It's a crime-free utopia. I understand that. But, just in case. So the final was delayed for a combination of full security sweep so the royal family could come for the crowning ceremony of Falcons, and obviously this mousepad incident.
But it resulted in fans being outside in the Saudi summer heat in the middle of a humid desert.
And no water being provided.
No water for hours. And then...
So what's weird, guys, most people consider water a basic human right, but it's almost like, guys, are you ready? I know it's going to really blow your mind. Maybe they have a different conception of basic human rights over there. I'm just saying, put it on the table.
So,
I mean, to be fair, when people started to chant in the crowd, we want water.
Pretty good. I know.
They did give them water. Okay. So maybe next time chant, we want LGBT rights and women to have the same rights.
Start the chant going, sorry. Just get it going. Yeah, let's get it going, mate.
See what happens. If that's all it takes for them to cave, maybe it's a house of cards to begin with,
By the way, I assume we've done also. Should we do the last one as well? Because the last one, I think, has the funniest punchline of all. It's the one about Chopper from Spirit.
Oh, hang on.
Basically,
there is one more thing, and then we'll do the Chopper thing.
Yeah, go on.
So the other thing just was, for the crowning ceremony, it was mandatory for any Superfans on site to attend. So, again...
What does that mean, though? What happens if you don't attend? It's like Robo Ed 209. You must attend. You have 30 seconds to comply. Like, what happens if I don't go?
If it's considered a deliverable that you do, then your org doesn't get paid.
Oh, right. I see. So you're fucking up for your org.
What they were doing was they were essentially pushing the fan coordinators to pressure the fans to do all the things they needed them to do. And when I say pressure, I mean, look, you have to understand, they got flown to Riyadh, which is a beautiful place.
Listen, you have to,
and they got put up in a really nice 5-star hotel,
Absolutely.
an Novotel. That's like fucking really, it looks sick. And basically, per fan, if you factor in, the average cost of flights plus the average cost of the stay, it was $2,400 per fan.
Livable. Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
So, and there was probably in total, like maybe 300 Superfans a week across all of the orgs. So the hospitality investment was big. But, there were certain downsides, and this was one of them. For the ceremony, you had to be there, and you had to applaud. So it's just so on the nose, by the way. To me, like, it's just so reminiscent of like a North Korea situation.
Yeah.
Glorious leader is here, everyone.
You will applaud.
Hold on.
Citizen, why are you not applauding?
Yeah.
Do you not venerate the state of Saudi? I'd give you a fucking break.
No, I do. No. So, it was a real one of those situations. And like, apparently people were like leaning into it and doing it like a bit ironically and stuff.
Right.
So again, credit to them. But yeah, I mean, like, ultimately, I just think, like, from start to finish, it was so choreographed and inauthentic. And then they sent out a Superfan program survey. So all the Superfans got sent this link. And, I don't want to say I was, like, totally on the nose, like, from the very second Saudi reared its head in esports. But I'll just give you some of the questions. Here we go. Will you recommend a trip to the EWC to your friends? Okay, so there was that one. Did you do any other activities in Riyadh outside of the Superfan program? These can include excursions, shopping, dinner, and sightseeing. And then, would you consider coming to Saudi Arabia again outside of the Superfan program? Yeah, mate, I'm going to fly to Riyadh on a fucking holiday. I'm there right now. Like, so what? I can't drink. No, we're going to do that now. We're going to let you have wine. We're going to go as high, no hard liquor though, but wine, you can have wine. We're not going to do a Qatar. We're not going to pull the old Bud Light on you, right? So basically, the state was essentially using this as an off-ramp to fucking tourism.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's part of the point, right? They're trying to Dubai themselves.
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, look, it was as transparent as we all knew it was. And then, of course, we'll do the ultimate punchline with fucking Chopper.
Even though this is one of the most minor things, this is one of the funniest parts. So basically, Chopper, the in-game leader of Team Spirit, who, by the way, around this time is obviously one of the best teams, he did a thing where, because we all constantly tell Team Spirit, because, by the way, there actually is sort of a hard culture clash at the moment between Russians, not just because of the war thing, but like they're not as comfortable in English doing their jokes and their memes and all the anime shit everyone tells me they do in Russian. But basically, people always say that Team Spirit has no aura, basically, that they're all like boring. And so they all try, like Magic's did, and now Chopper does. They try to like lean into it and do some shit talking when they can and do some banter, because it obviously makes it fun, right? So they did one where, when they actually were at this tournament, they said, Chopper said in like a little video, he put, here's the arena, about 300 paid workers will scream Falcons, Falcons here. By the way, an incredibly tame joke, and referencing something provably that is going on. It's what we're talking about, the Superfan program. This is the punchline, Monty. He was asked to take this down by the EWC organisers. When asked for the reason why, they said, it hurt our feelings. Not even, we paid you, we invited you, this is unprofessional. Just, you hurt my feelings. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Essentially, an authoritarian state that kills people got their feelings hurt by a thing a guy said. I can't take it.
I mean, it does explain their behavior of putting people in jail for years for tweets. So, not even tweets, retweets.
No, again, I'm just going to say, if they don't like players, think about that, Richard, players making a statement like, there will be paid fans here. I'm going to imagine it might really hurt their feelings if you went, oh, is this a mic? Here's my thoughts about gays and all the things going on in your career. I imagine that wouldn't go. I imagine, Eddie, that might hurt their feelings. Crazy idea,
Well, listen, some people just live their lives pressing buttons and being loud, and if
All right, we will get into that, but first,
Okay.
up, guys, we do have a new collaboration with Into the AM that you
appropriate words.
It should have been like with,
Appropriate
and here
word
we are.
given the next topic.
Get
please.
the LFN EWC 2025 jersey. And that would have been the best.
Last
intro
Three
of all time.
Nations Cup coverage. Let's
So-
go.
This one actually has the Four Horsemen logo on it, as you can see right here. So on the front, see, there's the Four Horsemen right here. And we have it on the shield with the cross swords. There's like a knight with an Easter egg on the back with a dragon. So you guys can check that out. So not only is that available right now, so you can go to intotheam.com/LFN-TEE number 2. Sorry. So LFN-T2 is in t-shirt TEE. And then this is our second collaboration with them. It'll be on your screen right now. It'll be a link below. But it's also the Into the AM Labor Day sale right now, and everything is off up to 50% site-wide until the 7th of September. And that's in addition to the 10% you always get by using our link and our code is LFN. So anytime they have a sale, guys, you get the sale price, and then you get an additional 10%.
LFN-T2, I believe, isn't it?
Yeah,
Isn't it
that's the
difficult
link.
for this one?
It'll be
if
on
you're
your
from
screen right now.
Chicago and you survive Labor Day, you can get yourself an absolutely sick T-shirt.
By the way, the other thing that's good about this one is, though, it doesn't explicitly like have us on or say the last minute. So it also it won't be some like, what's that nerd shit? It's just like a cool guy fighting a dragon or some shit.
Yeah.
It's actually more like it's more of a subtle collaboration, isn't it?
Notoriously not nerdy.
No,
Dragons.
It looks like a heavy metal
Full.
shirt, guys. You'll see it. But thanks to
Yeah,
Into
it
the
looks
AM for
metal.
our collaboration. We really appreciate
right.
them.
Shout
And
out
if you
to
don't, if you don't want the Four Horsemen T-shirt that we've worked on with them,
fuck you.
Oh yeah,
Get
fuck
out.
you. But also, they have. I use their plain T-shirts all the time. They also
buy
have
the other shit as well. Yeah, the other
chinos,
shit's good too.
button-ups, polos, workout clothes. They have basically all men's apparel, and they ship internationally. Many places for free internationally as well with certain order sizes. So they've been a great partner for us. We love them. Thank you to Into the AM. I know you guys love their clothes as well. We've got
They're
nothing
really
but good.
comfortable, actually. I
Yeah,
think
they're
the
great.
t-shirts are
Very high
lovely.
quality.
Yeah, they're awesome,
So if
yeah.
graphic tees aren't your thing, luckily, there's a billion more options for you. All right, let's talk about SonicFox, because this happened late last night. So to set up
did.
the SonicFox and fighting game community crisis that is going on right now, it has been revealed, as all things through Saudi Arabia in the esports business world, seemingly accidentally via LinkedIn. So
Classic.
we touched on a couple episodes ago that there is an agency called RTS. Now RTS is run by.
By the way, that's already cancer. So a fighting game thing is called RT.
Yeah.
What the fuck is that?
So a few years ago, there was a
That's one
new
side. Put that to one
agency
side.
that was spun up called RTS. And RTS was founded by some real esports OGs, friends of ours, in fact. So you guys might
That's how
remember.
you know they were going to sell it to the Saudis. That Venn diagram meant they were 100% likely
Yeah.
to sell it to the Saudis.
So Stuart Saw, who is formerly a caster known as Tosspot, real
Tosspot,
OG
yeah.
caster from way back in the day, and Kim Fan, who's a personal friend of mine. She was one of the people who got me into esports. She was the one who ran WC replays in the Warcraft 3 scene, which is where I started in esports like 20 years ago. She then worked for Blizzard for many years. They formed their own agency. They received investment, and then with this investment, they purchased Evo alongside Sony. So for a while, Sony and RTS owned Evo for the last few years. What has now happened is that RTS has been entirely. So first off, we heard a couple weeks ago, RTS, this agency, is receiving an investment from Qiddiya, which is the nonsense future city that they're making, just like all the other nonsense that Saudi says they're building, but they're not
Still
actually
doing
building.
the best out of all the super projects they're
That's
working
true.
on, to be fair. It's the one they might actually complete. So.
To their own detriment,
But
most likely.
it also means you not only now on this one get fucked if you mention Saudis, but if you stupidly ever said Neon, which was another one of their cities, you set yourself up for this one, mate. So yeah, another good one. Another city
The
project.
Neon / the Line project, if you guys haven't been paying attention, is not going well, and MBS is very angry. But Qiddiya is in Riyadh, and that, as far as I know, is being built out. But
It is, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
so-
just essentially a Six Flags,
yes,
theme park
Yes.
city with a bunch of esports and entertainment shit baked into it, and some super futuristic hotels where you can go and engage in mildly haram activity if you're a Westerner.
Yeah, it's like an entertainment district. Anyway, so Qiddiya, which had been sponsoring Evo, it has now been revealed. So they said first, we're investing, and Sony is leaving, by the way, and Nodwin Gaming, which you might not know what that is. That is an Indian entity. And the Indian entity...
The ones who just bought Starladder, as far as
Yes, they bought Starladder.
The ones that had Ralph Reichart on the board, but not officially announced on the website.
There you go.
So...
Everyone else, all the other board members on the website, Ralph, we just forgot about it.
So you might be wondering what this Indian entity is doing.
His status in your fucking annual report. It looks active to me, but whatever.
Typical esports.
Let's be real. They're trying to package another bunch of shit together to sell to fucking Saudi.
Yeah.
Double dipping, getting paid multiple times. I don't know what the fucking angle is, but I can see all the pieces on the fucking board.
Yeah, so Nodwin Gaming is owned by the largest, as I understand, the largest betting company in India. But betting is being severely restricted right now, so they are attempting to use their betting money to acquire esports assets, which we assume, as Richard infers, is being packaged up to then eventually sell to the Saudis. So, the idea is Nodwin acquires all of these assets, it gets put in a package, and then it just gets sold to the Saudis. So basically, nobody can complain because it's like, oh, well, the Saudis didn't buy Starladder and, Evo and all these individual pieces. So as it stands right now, Nodwin has invested, and now it has been revealed through LinkedIn that the investment in RTS was not partial. They have completely bought. Qiddiya and the Saudi Investment Fund have completely bought RTS. And so what this has done, this realization via this extremely dumb LinkedIn leak, which, of course, it's like, you don't have to actually say this on LinkedIn. Nobody's making you do it. What's the point of doing it? It just created a bunch of bad PR. Is that the fighting game community, famously vocal, famously against the kind of things that the Saudi government does, has now decided that it is totally okay to continue participating in this. Probably the reason why they bought Evo, because Evo has been, the goal of Evo has been extending it into a circuit, right, with multiple Evo events. We assume that Evo Riyadh probably isn't too far behind if they're doing this. In addition to, frankly, for the FGC, I don't think they've really realized the implications of this, which is that when Saudi Arabia gets involved, they try to suppress the importance of other events on the circuit in order to make Esports World Cup the most important event. So if anything, they are probably going to try and make Evo less important by buying it to prop up the prestige of Esports World Cup in fighting games. So if you like Evo and you think, wow, it sure is great that Evo in Vegas is like our most significant event of the year, well, that will change. That will change.
Put it this way, it's essentially what you heard about in Counter-Strike, where in Counter-Strike we had these events that ESL ran, Katowice and Cologne, which are considered as good as a major. And we've even heard, because Maui Snake, one of the people who've worked in the industry, revealed this, that they're trying to make that seem less important, to make EWC seem more important. So essentially what they're doing is they're buying the TI or Worlds of fighting games and just going to make that a step that leads into the fucking... It's like Richard said, the line you really need to take is all roads lead to Riyadh. As long as you understand that is the reverse engineer, it will always end there. No matter how many steps it takes, that is where all the plans eventually go to. The question just becomes, how quickly can we do it, as far as I can tell?
It's part of their 2030 project, the 2030 vision. And the 2030 vision is all about diversifying their portfolio to get them out. Because this is the hilarious part, right? We want to unhook ourselves from oil, right? And Saudi are an oil-producing nation, I believe is the preferred nomenclature that we like to say. Right? So, what are they going to do? Well, they still need to be culturally relevant and culturally important and geopolitically important.
And they won't do that by reforming themselves.
No.
So.
No. But also, that wouldn't work. Here's the irony. If they weren't doing the 2030 vision, and let's just say they were like, listen, okay, we're out the oil. You don't want to buy our oil anymore? Well, okay, look, women are really, they're not even just pretend driving. They're really driving. We're letting them even go over the speed limit and shit. We got rid of the chaperones. Here you go. First gay marriage officiated in Riyadh. It's all fine, guys. the West would still walk away. It's like because people think like I'm an idiot, right? Like, no, obviously the West doesn't care about that either. Like, you can, if you want to normalize and be like us, cool. But if you've got nothing to offer us, then we're not going to give you anything in exchange for that, right? It's just a fucking political football to a lot of people. Anyway, so the 2030 vision is about basically how do we maintain the levers of control over the West and also make profit. Well, what do Westerners love? Right, here you go. I'm going to be racist against myself, guys. There you are. Right? It's what you've all been waiting for. Oh, I always knew it. You were always a self-hating white guy, Richard. No, not true. Just going to make some observations. Right? What do we like? Entertainment. We fucking love a bit of entertainment. What else do we like? We love sports, don't we? Especially in Britain and America. We're all fat louts who love a beer. Or we love alcohol as well, don't we? We love to drink and watch sports. Well, what else do we like? Well, we like video games, don't we? Because we're fucking lazy and decadent. And what else do man-children? What else do we like? We like esports. Because we're even within the man-children community, there's a scale of man-child that you can't even begin to imagine, and the esports right at the lower end of it, right? That includes us.
No man-child left behind.
That's exactly. No man-child left behind. Perfect, right? So anyway, that's what they're getting their fucking fingers into, and I am missing some other stuff out. But if it's sports or entertainment or video games, then Saudi own it. They either own a piece of it or the entirety of it. They're investing into major American corporations that make content, like Disney, right? They own a piece of it. Oh, and social media. They bought your social media too. All the things you love. And by the way, all of these things are only likely to appreciate in value.
Yeah, they also
time.
are like the largest stakeholder of Nintendo, by the way. I mean, they're heavily invested in gaming developers and publishers.
So they know this. They know what we are going to spend money on. They've studied us like we are fucking in a zoo. And they have figured out what we like and what we consider to be a hierarchy of needs. And they have tapped into it. And they have
They've nailed it so far, man. They're killing it.
Exactly.
Like the joke is, I couldn't even have been quite as cynical as they have been, and they've been proven right.
Yep.
Even I thought some of these people would stand against, not all of them, but the odd one, I've been amazed how many people do fall in line.
And I can also tell you, I have talked to people that have been in rooms with the Saudi people making the deals, and they all say the same thing. The sneering contempt for how easy the average Westerner is bought.
Right.
It is not just palpable, it is sometimes even explicitly said.
Wow.
Like, well, what if we just upped the price? They say, look, we don't want to negotiate. We will go here. Is that it now? Can we stop talking now? That's how the negotiations do. And that's why a lot of these people have just come into it with this real cynical angle. And so, look, we know that what Saudi's doing here by acquiring all these little aspects, it is just about it's ideological control. And it's quite an interesting type, because it's not that they are foisting Islamic theocracy on us. That isn't happening in Saudi, right? That's not their stated goal. They're not proselytizing about their religion. They're in many ways being very understated about it. They go, look, we just don't want to see that shit, but everyone could be themselves behind closed doors. That's what they say, right? Of course, that's not the reality, because they will send in jackbooted thugs to kick down those doors and arrest you and then torture you and get you to confess to other crimes, and then they'll execute you, right? But what they always say is, if you just do it quietly, it's all good. It doesn't matter what it is, womanizing, drinking, drugs, being gay, right? That's all, trans.
They also play that little game as well, which Monty always points out. It's a very relevant point, which is stop thinking this is your country in the West. They do not have like a massive system of courts that all connect.
Exactly.
And you can sort of appeal to the Supreme Court. If you're in bumfuck nowhere at the outskirts, who knows what they do to you, and who knows if they follow the rules in the capital? Like out there, that's never going to be reported on. So they can also get away with that, Richard. They can say things, I notice, like certain things aren't officially done anymore, but you find out it goes on in the outskirts, and it's still done there by like a
there's
community
also
group of people.
I mean, this will relate to the conversation, but when we later on, but when we had our talk about like the Saudi Arabia update and all the stuff that they've been doing, Human Rights Watch, what they do and say is one thing, but the actual practices are very different. So what they did a few years ago was say, you cannot get married if you're under the age of 18. But practically what they did was they said, oh, but there are exceptions. So it's illegal to marry somebody who's not 18. But what they did was they created an online system where anyone who has reached puberty, so that is up to a doctor, you can submit via an online form a doctor's like confirmation of puberty, and then that will be reviewed and rubber stamped basically by a Saudi judge. So anyone who has reached puberty is eligible for marriage. And in 2017, there were something like 15,000 people between 15 and 17 that got married. And of course, girls, obviously.
There's a really good American-focused puberty blockers joke in here, but I'm not smart enough to write it. So,
but I mean, that was just the 15
I'll let the
to
community workshop that.
That was just the 15 to 17-year-olds, but especially because, if you guys are aware, the age of puberty has been kind of declining in modern times. So, what this could mean is that there are 10, 11, 12-year-olds potentially getting married. And this is not a system that is thoroughly vetted. So even though the law was changed, they immediately introduce a loophole that has virtually no barriers to overcome, and the practice continues. So,
yeah. So, I mean, look, ultimately, the 2030 vision is about making it so the thing Monty has just said, Monty can't say if Last Free Nation is funded by Saudi Arabia, or if Monty wants to go and commentate their events. And as we saw with Cadril, if Monty had ever said that, he'd have to delete it. He'd have to recant.
You see, Richard, probably the greatest prize would be to turn one of us and have us recant, and then...
I'm pretty sure they're going to turn one of us into fucking slices, bro. Like, that's how that works. They're going to turn one of us into a fucking lining for a suitcase, bro.
I mean, hopefully not, but... It is a danger, right? And the thing is like the best thing they can do is give us one of the bag, have us say, well, I disavow all my previous statements and delete the content. That's the ultimate goal, is to make people bend the knee.
Yeah, of course. But like, look, if I can't make you bend the knee, I'll make you shut your mouth. And that's the order. It'd be great if you bent the knee.
By the way, there's no mean feat. I'll tell you what, they have made, as we're going to reference soon, some of the loudest mouthed fucks in esports that can't stop talking about everything magically. Can't got your tongue. They just don't say anything about the topic anymore. They just don't
That's what I mean.
It.
It's like,
back to the video.
If the silver medal is making you just shut the fuck up, they'll take that all day. And this is what I mean about it. It's like, there's this... The most vocal people left about it now are either like us, like we're just on fucking, we're on a island that is shrinking, like due to the fucking rising tide of Saudi. That's where we are. So you can be here with us if you like. By the way, the fucking...
There's no reward for being here. Being here
there's absolutely, if we're running out of coconuts, but it's fucking rough.
By the way, the real metaphor, the obvious metaphor we should use, but again, we'd have to workshop it to make it fully work, is like zombie movie outbreak. Because you just know that there's the people, even among the survivors, Monty, where you just know if they got bit, they wouldn't tell the group. It'd only be when they turn that, you're even starting to get that paranoia of like, looking around the others, who's going to turn next? It's that thing, isn't it?
CC'd in mbs@gmail.com. What's happening there? So it could be anyone. You've got to be careful.
On the shitty island, by the way, there's no money. There's no bag.
No,
and,
true.
There's no allies anymore. So it's just a shitty island. There's nothing.
We're barely even recognized as an independent nation state. We're just a loose collaboration. So you can be here with us, or...
So, by the way, on the whole topic of Last Free Nation, I've got to just say this line as well, because I've been waiting my time, haven't I?
Okay.
If you're one of the people, a couple of years ago, when we launched Last Free Nation, just before all this shit kicked off, who went, Last Free Nation, not sure I like the implication of that name. Sounds a bit like you're some sort... Yeah, sounds like you're some sort of, right-wing militia that might have, violent intentions. You're now the people, yeah, who literally are an adjunct of the murderous Saudi Arabian regime, yeah? That's you, yeah? Just checking that is you, literally you, and that isn't... Difference is you made a crazy, like, hyperbolic metaphor about my name of my company. That's just who you literally are, factually. It's why I even said on Twitter, I'll tell you an area that has gotten really sinister, is when we get in a minute to talking about some of the people who claim they don't carry water for the Saudi Arabian. No, I won't be silenced, I'll say something. You'll never see a single one of them, Monty, ever say these words. They kill gay people. They imprison women. They always use euphemisms. And by the way, anyone who knows anything about media, look up, Chomsky, etc. That's half the battle won already, mate. When they get you to say there were heavy casualties instead of we killed a bunch of kids, that's half the battle won right there. Because heavy casualties doesn't make you think of a bunch of dead kids. It makes you think, oh, in war, there'll be people who get hit as bystanders. So the same thing. These people, even though they say they'll speak out against it, don't say things like they're in a regime that literally kills gay people, or they literally imprison women who are activists. They'll always go with, well, they are oppressive, and they're still like trying to learn, and they've got some it's all euphemisms, mate. And the euphemism tells me you are the guy who's been bit. You're going to turn fully soon. It's just a matter of time for you. The fact that you're already sort of almost like self-censoring ahead of time and deleting what you would have said when you decided 2 years you can't say that. You're just doing it in real time. I find that really sinister too. The sort of language creep.
Yeah. So if you're not on the island, then pretty much you're either with Saudi, or if you want to still pretend you're against Saudi, but you want the Saudi money, you're sort of like what I call a useful idiot. And not just me, I didn't invent the term, obviously, but, you are literally being a useful idiot, and many such cases. As I said...
Including, as we said on the last episode, people we like LS.
Yeah.
He doesn't know it, but he's inadvertently carrying water for them. Yeah. They love the way
it's like, it. Look, obviously, I doubt there's ever going to be an episode where Steve Hartenset comes on now.
Sure.
That would have been possible in the past. I've interviewed that guy. I've hung out with that guy. But he's a literal useful idiot for the regime. They loved it. They loved that a gay guy went there and took photos in their fucking square and posted them and said it's lovely out here, it's great out here,
and told his story about being gay. Well, they secretly didn't, censored it within Saudi Arabia and then didn't tell him.
I mean, at that point, wouldn't you come out and say, like, oh, I'm a patsy, I got played, fuck this? But instead, he can't. He can't even bring himself to do it. And by the way, I just wish he'd come out and just say, like, whatever. I still get to be gay here in my life. I still get to be with my partner. They can't hurt me. So fuck all the other gays. You know what I mean? Just say that. That's what you're thinking. You're literally thinking, I'm okay. So fuck everyone else. That's the stance everybody takes. Because when it comes down to it, and I get this, not everybody is actually willing to step the fuck up for another human being.
Yeah, of course.
It is fucking hard. It is hard in a moment. Like, you might be walking down the street, you watch someone getting attacked. In your mind, you might have the fucking fantasy you're going to step in, karate chop some motherfuckers, save, I've got your ma'am, I'll get you to a hospital, don't worry. You might think you're like that. But then in the moment, you might fucking freeze and you might just keep on walking down the street.
If he's going to get me, I'll just keep going. Yeah, fuck that.
Most people are that when it comes to it, because you have that the mechanism to step in front of this shit. You have to lack self-preservation being this thing that you put above all else. That's actually almost against nature. So I get it. I just wish you wouldn't pretend. That's always been the problem with it.
All right.
It's the pretense.
So basically, what
and
this
with that in mind,
basically what this has resulted in,
fucking pretender on planet Earth. Let's do it.
This episode of The Four Horsemen is brought to you by our newest sponsor, Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Now, Prize Picks offers daily fantasy, and it's really easy to play. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, then you could cash in. And of course, they have this for many traditional sports, including the upcoming American football season, but they also have it for a variety of esports now. So League of Legends, Counter-Strike 2, Valorant. And how it works is you basically take these players, and it might say, for example, in League of Legends, that a player will get more than X number of kills, and you could pick more or less than that number. So let's say recently this will have already happened, but in the Brion versus Nongshim match, will Jiwoo in maps 1 through 3 get more or less than 14 kills? So that'd be one prediction you make, and then you make another one on another player, and then if you get them both right, you could cash out. It's also the best way to get action on sports in more than 40 states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. So it's available almost everywhere in America. Now, if you're an American football fan like me, you might be interested in some picks for the upcoming football inaugural weekend here. And for me, I was looking at some of the receivers, and Justin Jefferson is playing the Bears. He has a more or less than 0.5 touchdown. So basically, if you score a touchdown as a receiver or even as a running back, you would get more than, I would pick more than that, because Vikings probably going to be better than the Bears. And I think that JJ McCarthy will be really leaning on Justin Jefferson as one of the best wide receivers in the league. Similarly, the Bengals are playing the Browns, and that means that Jamar Chase, maybe, the best wide receiver in the NFL, also has a more or less than half a touchdown. So I would just take the more on Justin Jefferson and the more on Jamar Chase there as my two picks for the upcoming start of the football season. So there you guys go. Head on over to Prize Picks now. You could download the app today and use code HORSEMEN, that's plural, MEN, to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code HORSEMEN to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. So we have to remember that the FGC has previously, over the years, and we have a long memory, completely lost their mind at things like invitational tournaments. Richard has told the stories about E-League many times, where if the community can't participate, which, by the way, this is an instance in which if there's an event in Riyadh, certainly a lot of the community probably shouldn't participate because of the dangers of them traveling to Riyadh. And also, by having an open tournament in Riyadh, who is really going to go there? You're not going to get the thousands of people that you have from an Evo, right, in America, because people from America, by the way, the overwhelming center of console gaming alongside Japan, those places are really far away from Riyadh. East Asia and America are really far. It's not Europe, where it's right next door, right, guys? So those people all going to fly out there to participate? And if the soul of the FGC is the average fan's participation, what does it mean to have an event where very few people will have the means to get there, right? Turns into an invitational. Invitationals are evil, as we know. So what has happened is that we have had SonicFox, who is major fighting game player, one of probably the greatest ever in terms of...
No question about it.
In terms of accomplishments. Famously, very publicly, a furry, non-binary, queer.
He literally wears the fursuit when he competes, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm reading the SonicFox's Twitter bio. Forgive us if we say the wrong thing here. It's not to be disrespectful. I don't know all the nomenclature that we should be using for SonicFox. Anyway, SonicFox had previously, and we'll get into this, boycotted Evo for good reasons, by the way, I think. Because we'll start things off by talking about the crisis that happened at Evo previously, because this has not been a tournament that has been without scandal in the past. And the previous person who ran Evo in 2020, so 5 years ago, was basically justifiably run out of the community for doing things like really creepy sex shit. And a lot of this happened many years before 2020, like in the
classic curse of the FGC, by the way.
Right. Yeah. In the early 2000s.
Let's also just be clear, right? You could throw a fucking dart into a bunch of FGC people in it of fucking sex.
And they'd go, how did you hit those three pedos?
The amount of like pedophilia sex scandals in the FGC.
Discord grooming, all sorts of creepy
is crazy.
Yeah.
Even there was that headline about Smash, and Smash consider themselves not to be in the FGC. Spoiler, you are. It's a fighting game. Shut the fuck up. Right, I don't give a fuck. We get a documentary. Fuck all of you people. You fucking ridiculous. So anyway, the fucking, there was a headline. I can't remember what magazine it was on, but it was just something like, it was like when we were doing the Me Too thing in esports and it made it into the FGC, and it was like 50 people. It was like the headline was like 50 people accused. I was like, what? 50?
So
like 5 would be fucking crazy. What are you talking about?
There have been a lot. I mean, we can. That's a different episode where we go over the FGC's numerous sins, because there have been many. But this particular sin was that the guy who was running Evo at the time had, in the early 2000s, so 15, 20 years before this happened in 2020, was at like arcades, local arcades and local tournaments, and giving underage boys like arcade tokens to show him their penis, or like betting them that they wouldn't like strip naked and go in like some, I guess, like some pond that was nearby or something like that. So basically he was an adult who was grooming underage boys. And justifiably, by the way, shout out to the FGC for this one. They boycotted Evo 2020. Evo 2020 didn't happen. It was canceled because of this. They kicked the guy out. Good for you. Like, awesome work, guys. You know, don't let this person continue within that community who would potentially go on to further sexually exploit young people.
That have to go to Evo and potentially drink something that they've left unattended for 5 seconds, breathed a heavy sigh of relief. 1 year, you don't have to worry about the roofies.
So this is all to say that SonicFox
hate this community, but
was part of that boycott. And so the problem now is that SonicFox has said, in response to, shout out to the esports advocate for breaking the story, and James Fudge again. What a G. And hopefully got some good success out of this, because as I'm looking at it right now, the tweet from the esports advocate has 6.6 million views on Twitter. So almost certainly by far the biggest like headline that they've ever posted, which has been the news breaking that Evo organizer RTS has been fully acquired by Saudi Arabian megacity project Qiddiya. And SonicFox quote retweets this, as did many of us, and says, "I have a personal life goal that I've been dedicating myself to when it comes to Evo, and I plan to see it through," which, by the way, is the entire point. Like, we could just stop there. SonicFox has a goal. That's the only important thing here. And so everything else SonicFox is going to say is just to justify this goal. Not going to back off. So I will not be erased, even if it means I'm the only voice there. I will simply be gayer and louder than ever as I wave my trans rights flag in grand finals. Okay, let me explain this. As we have seen, being gayer just makes you censored in Saudi Arabia. When Team Liquid tried to be gayer, when Steve Arnset, whom nobody publicly knew was gay, announced that he was gay, what happened was, and what?
I just said hashtag out for Saudi.
Out for Saudi. And then went on to the EWC Level Up documentary to talk about being gay and announce that we're still going to have the pride there. What they did was, that documentary, that part is cut out of the documentary for Saudi audiences. If you are geolocated with an IP address on Saudi, you do not see that content on Amazon Prime. And they censored the rainbow Liquid logo, even though it's not a rainbow flag. It's just the horse with a rainbow on it and could be literally anything. So we can say that being gayer is not going to be seen in Saudi. Therefore, it will change nothing for the actual gay people who are being oppressed by the Saudi Arabian government. As we said at the start of the episode, it doesn't matter what you do, because you are not going to be shown to the Saudi audience. And this is a shield to prevent them from having to change. They want you to be gayer. The more gay you are in a place where their people, their citizens
Controlled
don't see
environment.
it makes them look progressive.
Yes.
They want you to be gay. They want you to...
That's the part that he still doesn't get this, Monty, right? That in this case, The best thing about this, if you're the Saudis, is now when someone who's not us and knows esports and knows the game, when someone just naive from the BBC goes, is it true though that you suppress these things there? They go, no, what are you talking about? We have an openly gay owner that we work with. They've come second in the award. There's a champion from the fighting games called SonicFox. He actually wears a persona on suit. We're totally fine with him doing that. We have no problem. They can brag about that. If anything, it actually gives them a token. That's a key word here, mate. A token win. They get to look like, in a very controlled, artificial manner, they're fine with it, Monty, and there is no big deal with it. It actually allows them to create a false front.
I'm even going to rewind. I'm going to rewind because unless there's something about you guys I don't know, I think I'm the only one on the show that's had a boyfriend. So
sure,
I get to say this. What the fuck are you talking about when you say gay? That makes you the exact type of person that 90% of the LGBT community think is fucking cringe. We can't stand you going out and saying shit like this. What, like, there's like a special knob we all twiddle in our back. Like, oh, I'm going to make the gluck noise super loud now.
You know, Richard, I've tried to like turn my straighter knob up, but it just isn't working. Like, I don't know how to be straighter.
I am talking for the like if he can talk for fucking the LGBT community, I definitely fucking can. And let me tell you, we find
you are the Lorax. You speak for the gays.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I never play this cards, but when you say stuff like "I am going to be gay," it is cringe. It is cringe because first of all, your sexuality shouldn't be your whole fucking personality. One of the reasons, by the way, that gay rights and the kind of perception of gay people, bi people, trans people in America particularly. One of the reasons why people are getting this fatigue about this shit is phraseology like that. Like, we can just dial our gayness up. Okay, if you can dial it up, turn it down then. Right? That's what the bigots have been fucking saying for years. So if I can turn it up to a 10 at a whim, then the bigots can tell me to turn it down to a 1 or a 2, right? We've said for fucking decades, it's just who we are. It's not a fucking trapping. It's not just something we adopt. It's not just an affectation. He's literally telling the world, I'll be gay then. That'll show Saudi. First of all, it won't show them anything. And second of all, stop saying shit like that. You make us all look bad, you fucking imbecile. It's like ridiculous. It's actually insane. So, no, by the way, to all the straights out there, there isn't a button in our back. We don't just go, I'm going to be 8 gay today. 8 gay. I'm an 8 level gay. I'm an 8 level gay. Fucking hell, he's hot. Turn it up to 10. Turn it up to 10. Oh, hi. What the fuck are we doing? It's just who you are. That's the whole premise behind gay rights, that it's an immutable trait that you carry with you, and how you choose to express it is an extension of your personality. So I fucking hate that. I also hate the fact that this guy, it's like, get in there and make it all about you. Such a fucking SonicFox thing to do, by the way. Because we had to do with this. This is well beyond the statute of limitations. This fucking diva, when he rolled up to E-League, like, everybody has to bow and scrape because of who he is and blah, blah, blah. Well, let me tell you, at E-League, like, he's not a fucking fun person to be around. People used to fucking come backstage and be like, oh, you know, he's like hogging the green room or doing this or doing that. People said his fursuit fucking stank. They complained about it. People said his fursuit actually smelt so bad that people were privately coming to E-League staff and saying, I can
imagine being under the lights. You're in a fucking TV studio.
Saying, can you at least ask him not to wear it in the green room and stuff? And then the same people making the complaints, they're in the green room with him. Sonic, you're so good at the games. This guy's a fucking diva. He's just a diva from start to finish. And it's like really poor fucking taste, by the way, to come out and on this topic say, don't worry, guys, I've got a personal goal. Let me tell you about some personal goals, my little friend, right? There are the personal goal of gay people in Saudi Arabia and lesbian people in Saudi Arabia and trans people in Saudi Arabia and non-binary people in Saudi Arabia. Their personal goal is to live their lives in quiet seclusion and not be discovered by the state because of what would happen to them if it ever got out. Your personal goal, win an optional video game tournament and have a check signed by MBS, and you're doing it, you're some kind of hero. Unfortunately not, my friend. How history works, it's this. If you want to be an activist activist, you don't get the rewards. It is a lonely road.
Yes.
There is a sacrifice. There is a penalty to pay. And it's the messaging and the adoration and the respect and what you achieve and what you represent. That's the currency. You don't get the money from the evil regime and this. These are the two choices. You cannot have both. You cannot have both. And instead, in these tweets that he's put out today, which I'll read some of the other ones in a bit.
Yeah.
The tweets he's put out today, it is ultimately just all about him. I'm going to succeed in my personal goals. I'm going to be gay. I'm going to be loud. I'm going to wave a trans flag. Right, well, when you get your personal invite to Riyadh, by the way, because they want to use you as a useful idiot, try pulling that trans flag out on stage and see what happens. Don't worry, me and Amnesty International will write your appeal to try and get you out of whatever fucking gulag you were stuffed in,
Also,
you fucking moron.
It's very important to note that he's saying he's going to be gayer. Now, this is a perfect time, by the way, for SonicFox to make a public statement that is like, I disagree with the treatment of LGBTQ people in Saudi Arabia. Here are the things that they do. You'll notice very clearly the SonicFox does not do this. And does not say.
By the way, he even used the veil language. He just said they're oppressive or something. He didn't even mention, what do they do, SonicFox?
Yeah,
Did they kill them, bro?
Let me tell you, the only way to fight back against this is to use one's platform to specifically call out the bad parts of Saudi Arabia, because the goal of what they're doing, they want SonicFox to go to Qiddiya, which is a Potemkin village where SonicFox will be isolated from everybody else in Saudi Arabia. They could put a camera on SonicFox and say, look how progressive we are, to avoid dealing with the uncomfortable truths about how the Saudi government treats people like SonicFox.
What's really interesting as well is because, right, a lot of this stuff is baked into the fact they're a theocratic state. It's like, for example, it's the fact like, Iran, you can get a sex change operation because the Quran doesn't say anything specifically about trans people, right? So I'm sure the Quran doesn't address furries. Now, I've only read translations, guys. Pretty sure they're not in there. And fucking Muhammad did say you must never dress up like an anthropomorphized
by the most vague interpretation, maybe they'd have an issue because you're not allowed to create idols or depict things.
Could be
like
idolatry.
Again,
it's probably
biblical thinking.
You'll get
That's
through
your
that
Old Testament brain, Duncan.
So the point is like the only way to combat this is not to lean into it and do it, because that's what they want. Let's be very clear. They want to use you as a useful idiot. So you have to not participate and use your platform to call it out. Now, here's some other examples of what people in the FGC could do. They could say, you know what? I will be going to Evo, but you know what? I'm not competing. I'm going to stand outside and we're going to have a protest and we're going to get our signs on cameras at Evo and we're going to say the Saudis suck and we're going to make a big stink about it.
You're going to learn.
As we know, the esports industry stinks, but that doesn't mean you have to. And if you don't want to stink, I check out Mando. They offer a variety of men's grooming products, including deodorant, both in this solid stick form, as well as a cream tube deodorant, which you rub in like a lotion. I didn't think I'd like that, but I'm actually using it more than any of their other products right now because you can rub it into any part of your body that might have body odor, your grundle, aka your taint, or your feet, and it'll stop that BO before it starts. I like the regular solid stick deodorant as well. This is not an antiperspirant, so I like to actually use sweat to cool myself. I just don't necessarily like the body odor that goes along with it. And Mando products have mandelic acid, which stops the body odor from forming in the first place. And so if you're trying to mix up your grooming routine, maybe get some new scents. This is bourbon leather that I showed you guys earlier. They also have Clover Woods, Mount Fuji, a lot of really masculine scents that my wife has enjoyed as well. You can check out Mando. And they, in addition to deodorants, they also have body washes, bar soaps, and my personal favorite, the deodorant wipes, because if you're getting a little ripe, you can just give yourself a wipe down and head on to your next activity without worrying about stinking up the room. So Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with one of those solid stick deodorants, a cream tube deodorant. You can get them in any scent. 2 free products of your choice, like a mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. As a special for our listeners, new customers get 20% off site-wide with our exclusive code. Use code HORSEMEN, plural, MEN, at shopmando.com for 20% off site-wide plus free shipping. shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Mando's got you covered with deodorant plus sweat control. Say goodbye to sweat stains and hello to long-lasting freshness.
I mean, you already knew it. But here's what I'll tell you about the FGC. You'll never meet a bigger, pussified community who have always wanted to have their cake and eat it on every single fucking topic, by the way. So, esports, that's head-ass, man. Esports is head-ass, man. It's corporate shit. Fuck the people that promote that esports shit. Okay, cool, right? So we don't like esports. It's head-ass, right? You said it. It's what you've told me a million times, whatever the fuck head-ass is. Yeah. You fucking idiots. Right? Okay, so it's head-ass, right? Fuck off then. You're not part of our thing. You're giving out awards? Can we have some of them delicious esports awards? Can we have some of that delicious
Mate, do you know how many times I've had this? If I ever dare, as the role of the esports historian, say who the greatest people are, why not mentioning Street Fighter? Why not mentioning Melee? You told me you're not part of esports. Yeah. Which is it? I can't keep track, guys.
Exactly. They do that every single fucking time. It also comes down to it as well, you know, with like just any sort of sponsorships that are going around. It's like really funny. They're like, nah, man, FGC is grassroots for life. It's grassroots. It's all about the locals, yeah? And then they go, I wish there was more money and more sponsorship. And it's like, nobody wants to sponsor your product because your product is 50 fucking losers and 2 good players in a building. And we have to watch the 50 losers get eliminated. So the 2 good players that could have just played on day Richard, 1 play on day 5.
That's not even the worst part from a sponsorship perspective. The nightmare of the FGC is that one of those losers flukes a win against one of the good players. And then the finals, which are the most viewed, just have the player that you didn't sponsor in them.
And I know Duncan feels this way too. I don't mind a fluke. It's fine. Like a fluke is a fluke is a fluke is a fluke. Like,
but in a bracket with thousands of people, you increase the chance of flukes significantly, which you could be like, that's the magic of the FGC. True, but you can't have big sponsors who are like, I'm sponsoring this player because if it's a small percentage chance of a fluke, if you do that dozens of times in one tournament, it becomes much more likely to happen.
And then let's just talk about the makeup of the FGC. For some reason, it's some sort of unholy alliance of people who want to be ghetto tough guys.
This is the most bizarre thing to me,
But unbelievable screeching progressives, and they just seem to bond over fighting games and fucking anime.
So bizarre,
the levels of social dysfunction are off the charts in this community.
Yes.
Like, it is mental. It is absolutely mental. So you'll get browbeaten by these guys over here saying, you're a Nazi, man, you're a Nazi. You said, like, Trump wasn't Hitler. So obviously...
If people don't know, look, I don't know if on this show we ever addressed it, but if you ever watch Richard's content, you'll know it is literally the fighting game community is why he left E-League. Yeah. Because they literally treated Richard like everything he said was a dog whistle. By the way, the same people are now the ones working with the Saudis. Like, that's the insanity of 10 years later, you know.
They accused me of being racist for a joke that black people approved of in a writer's room, right? Which was, again, putting a security guard on stage for 2 players that had a notorious beef and said they were going to get into it. And because we zoomed in on the security guard,
and they were both black as well. It wasn't even like one.
Yeah, and it was a black security guard. So everyone involved is black. The writers are black. The players are black. The security guard's black. And then motherfuckers like Ultra David are going, I don't know about the optics of having a police officer.
Also, how is that your fault,
people.
Richard? By the way, how is that your fault?
Yeah. Well, I'm the right wing racist, obviously.
No, but like you. You don't have control over the direction of the production as the host of the show.
No. I don't know if you know this, but like, you know, I've got a double barrel surname. It's Richard E-League Lewis. That's why we called it that. So anyway, so you get wrecked on that side, and then the backlash is, oh, what? He's bad. He's not part of. He's not down with the FGC. So then these lunatics on this side, the fake hood guys, some real hood guys, to be fair, they all say they're going to shoot you in the face. They just send you pictures of them with shotguns going, it's on site if I ever see you in Atlanta, Kerr. Oh, wicked, cheers. That's great. That seems like a reasonable price to pay for putting your
So literal
game.
open carry state. So every fan going, it's just a tweet. They actually could really have the gun and then shoot you with it. Like,
They're sending me pictures of them with the guns. They definitely have the guns. It's Atlanta.
So-
There's guns. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I only lived there 2 years, and I was in a fucking gas station that got shot up. So, yeah. So there's guns in Atlanta, guys.
There's another episode about the crimes of the FGC, but I do want to stay on rails
you're
with
right.
this particular
We'll keep
SonicFox
it
thing because we have to get to the Dota stuff as well. So this is all to say that it is very disappointing and also confusing that the FGC's
hold on.
reaction to this.
Just before we move, I do want to get to his other tweets as well.
Please.
Because he also said a couple of bangers. He said, first of all, that he was done arguing the basics of resistance. Because apparently resistance is cooperation. You take their money and you go compete at their tournament, but then you go, haha, I took their money, but, I don't like them. And that's resisting, apparently. I miss that. Like I said, you know what we call those people? Collaborators.
Yeah, I was going to say there's an angle I had on this. Here's the thing. You've already established via a precedent in your community of we are LGBTQ people. What's the term you use for people who aren't LGBTQ, who support you? You call them allies. That's, by the way, the terminology of war. Logically, if an ally is someone who supports you against your enemy, then someone who then goes and works with your enemy who would kill you is an enemy of your people. So logically, by your own logic, if you use the term ally, SonicFox, you are an enemy of gay people. And that even spins to another angle that I'm beyond sick of with him, LS, the others, which is, I don't give a fuck that you in the West are gay. You don't speak for all gay people or approve what is allowed for gay people. And you especially don't do what you did in this tweet, which is he said, I am the minority. No, you aren't. That's exactly the important, significant point. If you were a Saudi Arabian person who planned to live in Saudi Arabia and be openly gay, then yes, you would be an incredibly brave person standing against this. You know that you can go there and look, you won't get away with doing it because they'll just keep it off camera, but you know that you never would be. You know that actually the US State Department and Richard Lewis and Amnesty International would come for you and save you and would put political pressure on. So actually you're flaunting in the face of all the gay people who are in Saudi Arabia who can't do what you're going to do, that you can get away with it, have the bag, say lol, maybe even get away with like behind the scenes saying fuck you to the Saudis and still piss off to your country
fucking
with the giant.
dude.
It's outrageous.
You know what I mean?
I think. Yeah.
And like on top of that though, like he is one of the most indulged people I have ever seen across all of esports and video games. Everyone tiptoes around him. Nobody says anything bad about him. No one pulls his card when he has bad takes, right? Why? Because he's fucking popular and journalists platform him over and over again.
Yeah.
And he will play the card that if you attack him or disagree with him in any way, you're attacking one of his immutable traits. Every single fucking time. That's who he is. He's a fucking
you're
coward.
racist. He's going to be one of them.
Coward.
You know, what I thought was so interesting is like basically what the fans are doing in the FGC, and you pointed this out, Thor, and is calling him like Jesse Owens, the famous track and field
which is why
athlete.
I called him Jussie Smollett. Because if you look at, he put a tweet out going, "I've had many close calls." Oh yeah, was it a couple of brothers and saying it was MAGA country? Was it like was that how we were doing it?
So Jesse Owens, by the way,
he's never had a close call. What close calls? Who's attacking him in fucking?
Oh, by the way, the craziest thing is he's one of those people who does do that. I'm in America and this is the resistance. This guy, I think it was the Game Awards, wasn't it? He won an award and used his moment. This is in the 2010s, by the way, not even recently. He won an award and he famously went up and said something like, "I'm black, I'm gay, I'm everything Republicans are scared of." You know what, homie? Keep that energy when it comes to the Saudis. Let me know what the Saudis are scared of. Let me tell me how bold.
Tell me what the Saudis are scared of.
Yeah, this guy. And by the way, again, just like all the people on Twitter, Donald Trump is an authoritarian dictator who's going to put me in camps. I said with my face account on Twitter, knowing I'll never even be banned off Twitter. Like, I'm going to go ahead and say you don't even believe that. That's clear you don't by your actions. Nobody in an oppressive regime does that publicly. By the way, do you know where you get doing that? And it does get you fucked up, Monty. In Saudi Arabia. If you say in Saudi Arabia the regime were oppressive and put you in prison, spoiler, they might wait till you come to Saudi Arabia and put you in motherfucking prison. Ask certain activists who've been put in prison for 34 years, etc.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, look,
so
he also goes on to say, he says, "I'll stop at absolutely nothing to protect the community and values that are true and dear to me, and I don't intend on stopping anytime soon. For me personally, going out doing what you love the most doesn't sound too bad to me." That he is in absolutely zero risk. There is zero risk.
And by
to
the
your
way,
life.
the Saudis bought Evo
It's embarrassing.
knowing that this is what happens at Evo. And they did that intentionally.
Sure.
Intentionally. Because they want that to happen.
Put it this way. It was like at the Esports Awards where he got up and he just walked on stage and the first thing he said is, "Did anyone say trans rights?" And it's like, who's this for, man? Like, everyone in the room is pro-trans, like, quite literally. Like, there are trans people in the room sat on tables with people you assume are bigots because of your fucked up preconceived ideas about who people are. Like, literally, I mean, people are just looking like, what?
By the way,
okay.
Richard, historically, esports has been one of the most progressive industries in terms of accepting trans people.
We have idolized him.
Absolutely, he's an icon. He's an absolute icon
He's an
for that, as
icon
well
of
as
this
his,
fucking
as well as the
sport.
accomplishments.
Think about how many trans people and how early on trans people were accepted within esports, and trans people becoming champions, and basically everybody saying, like, if you say fucked up shit to them, go away. Like, they just want to compete and they won, so fuck off. Everybody said
even
that.
Like back in like 2010, which I'm told is some sort of like ideological dark age where apparently like we were all just sat around deciding which minority we were going to fucking purge on a weekend. Like, it just was never like that. It's never been like that.
Wasn't one of the early champions of the fighting game, I forget the name, it's Ricky something.
Yeah.
He was a trans person, wasn't it? When the Street Fighter,
Yes.
I think it was that game.
But it's also every other game has had notable trans people. Scarlet and StarCraft, for example.
Sure.
And basically, this, despite what people say, the esports industry has always been one of the most open ever, especially compared to the average person for people like this.
I'll tell you what the actual punchline is as well. The only people I've even known who were like public figures in esports, who were literal Republican voters, were all secret Republican voters who never bragged about their things, and they're all the fucking owners who paid you your salaries, you idiots. You don't know that. You know this money. That's the sort of person who's Republican in esports. It's like an older generation guy who doesn't ever talk about politics, and he just behind the scenes votes.
And those people are probably very actually closer to libertarians, where they're very socially
And I tell you what, they're
liberal.
not shutting anyone down in their orgs money. They're not saying in my okay, you know this shit. They're not doing any of that. They're on complete freedom for everyone.
In any case, I do want to just you did poke the holes in the Jesse Owens thing, and Jesse Owens is the famous track and field athlete, black track and field athlete who competed at the 1936 Olympics in Nazi Germany, and Hitler very famously gave Jesse, allowed Jesse Owens to compete and then interacted with Jesse Owens. But you pointed out something very interesting, which is a quote that says, Owens, the NAACP, which is a civil rights group for black Americans, basically told Owens to say, if there are minorities in Germany who are being discriminated against, the United States should withdraw from the 1936 Olympics. So Jesse Owens was advocating a boycott, and then
person they're citing.
And then
he wanted to boycott it.
Went anyway because he was basically being called un-American by the American government. So the American government pressured Jesse Owens to go compete in a tournament that was hosted by what were obviously at the time and is even more obviously now racist bigots. It's not a question. And so
Jesse Owens publicly said, if anyone is being persecuted in Germany, then the US is morally obliged to withdraw. And for that, the US government monstered him. And for a black man in America in the 30s being held up as the face of un-American activity, that wasn't just very, very bad for him. That was very bad for the black community.
And people want to give that as the example of, see, that's why you should go like Jesse and fight it from inside the system. He didn't want to.
He didn't want to.
That wasn't his goal. He himself, if he'd had the choice, would have boycotted it. By the way, I'll even say this right now, bearing in mind, in the end, that got used as propaganda anyway. Like I say, it actually did have a different life of its own. Wouldn't that actually be a very famous thing if one of the best athletes in the world at the time had notably not gone because of this exact reason? That you could argue that would be as famous as the fake story now. That would be like an iconic moment. That would be up there with one of the rare moments that someone did protest within it, which is the famous Black Panther fist in the air thing. That would be iconic like that. Most people don't even know what fucking field event that was in, by the way. They just remember the fist in the air. So that's why I thought what was perfect about that, Monty, was that was someone, and there's a lot of this like SonicFox who go educate yourself when they've never cracked a book in their life. Like, you haven't even looked at the Wikipedia entry, motherfucker. Yeah. Like, you're telling us to look up. By the way, there's another thing. I'm sorry, the fact that you're gay doesn't in any way make you more knowledgeable about our resistance against political regimes, you fucking moron. Why would that make you more knowledgeable than me on that topic? What are you talking about? What would the connection even be?
Well, I mean, the other interesting footnote as well, which, like, again, it just gets left out of the Jesse Owens story. So you go, all right, so Jesse Owens actually, he went there, he competed, and I guess Hitler respected black people now. No. That's not what happened. Hitler said, actually, there was no way for Germans to compete against that type of person, and so they should be banned from future events. That was Hitler's takeaway. He didn't look at Jesse Owens and go, wow, what a wonderful example of sportsmanship. Perhaps I'll go away and revise my bigoted opinions. And actually, this whole Fourth Reich thing's kind of fucking whack, actually. Like, why don't we, like the Third Reich thing was kind of whack. Sorry, I'm a Reich ahead of myself. That's too busy listening to all the anti-Trump stuff. So no, he didn't say that. What he said was, we'll just ban black people from future events. That was his takeaway. So ultimately, when you do these things, it's like, look, I think there's more power in non-attendance. If you were to ask me who made a much more profound impact in their respective sports, Jesse Owens or Muhammad Ali, when Muhammad Ali went to literal prison for refusing to be conscripted and go and kill Vietnamese people. Like, there's no competition as to who's a bigger icon and who showed what resistance actually works, because I'm still talking about Muhammad Ali's gesture to this day, and everyone is. And for the heavyweight boxing champion of the world to go to a fucking prison for his principles, that's somebody you should respect and revere.
And to much of his prime, mate. That's always the what if of his career, isn't it? People already call him the GOAT, but he actually has like a what if, like an asterisk where he had a bunch of his prime stolen from him.
And they're the people I admire, the people that actually sacrifice stuff. You won't even sacrifice. By the way,
as you can tell, Richard, because of some of this guy's past antics, already I don't particularly like him. I do think he's a dickhead. I would give him mad props if he actually had publicly turned this down for that reason. I would have given him mad props. Yes, absolutely.
And he, by the way, unfortunately, one of the burdens of being an icon is you are the only person who can do it, and it matter. There's going to be some fighting games people who are going to go very quietly to 400 followers on Twitter. Yes. I'm not competing. Unfortunately, that won't move the dial. When you're an iconic individual, when you have an iconic presence.
It was the same with Cadrell, Richard. A lot of people aren't even aware Chronicle had chosen to turn it down because he's not a massive figure in the same way. If Cadrell had turned it down, everyone right now in League of Legends would know 100%. 100%.
Yeah. So, obviously, I know we need to move on and get to the daughter stuff. But I mean, like, this is just, for me, everyone has shown their ass on this Saudi stuff.
Yes.
And that's the fundamental problem. That the FGC told me, whilst they were threatening to kill me, that anyone that doesn't hold inclusive values will not ever be welcome in the FGC. And I spent 7 months at Breitbart, so I'm obviously secret, low-key, a white supremacist, Nazi, whatever, right? So obviously I can't be involved in the FGC.
Step 4, question mark. Step 5, welcome Mohammed bin Alwin Salman, true gamer and FGC icon of fucking hell, it's mad, innit?
So I had to deal with all of that because of perceptions about who I am. And a fictitious narrative about who I am.
Yes.
And now a very real regime that we can point to that has very really done all of these terrible things.
And it's going to in the future as well, by the way. They're going to kill more people.
Of course. I mean, it's a record number of executions this year. It's the highest number in decades. So what are you going to, when's the line going to be drawn for you guys? I know Monty's smiling because he's thinking about the line, the megacity, but...
No, I'm thinking about just, it's so absurd because if the line isn't here, where is it? That's always the question.
So I'll just put this out there.
Where is it?
I don't want to go full chuddersphere here, but I will just point this out. This isn't some distinct group of humans that came from another planet. Like, you're the same community that 10 years ago was obsessed with microaggressions and cultural appropriation and is the correct pronoun usage being used. You can't then be the ones now making the craziest carry water for the Saudi arguments like, but under capitalism, there's no ethical consumption. Well, at the end of the day, isn't really the way to win them over is to dialogue. You're the guys doing the microaggressions. You're the guys where if someone did a dog whistle, if you imagine they meant something that you think they meant, that means they're cancelled. You can't then be like, well, they're only killing 300. Oh, sorry, I got the new up 250 this year. That you can't be the guy who does that. That's, by the way, you would have told us 10 years ago, it's us who'd be doing that. We'd be working with the right-wing regime, the authoritarians. We'd be going, well, esports needs the money. Who cares where it comes from? You just said, funny how politics makes for strange bedfellows, and funny how that goes.
Well, also about the,
they're gonna expose themselves. All of these commentators, all of them. It's
also fun when you come from the other games, because if you were in CS first, you got to see that wave. I saw the same thing start to play out. It's almost got to the Creston League. Just wait a year or two on that one.
Yep.
It's the same in every. It's like the same. I mean, you notice, guys, it's the same exact slow creep in every game where people start as like, I'm not totally in it. Maybe I'll skip the first one, and then just over time, you see people like Invasion of the Body Snatchers just drop one after another, one after another, and at the end, who's left? Like a tiny group of survivors.
Yep.
Yeah, and about the Jesse Owens thing, too, to those people making that comparison, tell me by participating what Jesse Owens changed. Tell me what that did. Nothing. In fact, that was 1936. That was before the German war crimes. You know what I mean? That was before the start of
At the time, by the way, he was just a dictator who'd done some
it's weird.
incursions.
It's weird because it's almost like the way that the Nazis were stopped was by confronting the Nazis, and that by participating in the Nazis' activities, it didn't do anything at all. Weird.
Which is also hilarious, because in the same breath as using resistance, I've never liked how American shitlibs have sort of co-opted, we're talking about cultural appropriation. I never really liked how they've co-opted the word resistance, because, when you think about what the French resistance was doing and, resistance.
Bro, even, look, we recently did an episode about Central America. Yeah. When I hear resistance, Richard, I think of a young man, ideologically driven, who has an AK-47 and grenades, and he is going to die at some point for this cause.
Yeah.
His job is to give his life for the cause.
Yep.
Like, the idea, I'm going to make a tweet. Get ready, guys. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Actually, I agree. That's just like the euphemisms of not saying that you're killing people and stuff. How dare you upsell what you're doing?
But it's a total sidebar, but it just goes to the heart of what like American liberalism has ultimately become. This performative dance of where it's like, basically, the American liberal likes to believe that if they went to any period in history where a bad thing was happening, they would always be the one that would be right. They would be in the Underground Railroad. They would be in the French Resistance. They would be, and unfortunately, there's not really a lot of opportunity to prove that, because the world isn't a fascist hellscape. Well, certainly America isn't. No matter how much you want to LARP that it is. So you have to create these fictitious windmills to tilt at, so you can label this is the psychological mechanism at play here. It's no different with this. It's like, ultimately, all of these people that are saying we're going to work with Saudi, they know no matter how much they want to pretend, I'm putting myself at great risk by going out. You're not at risk. They're never going to hurt you. It's the Saudi people that are going to suffer for being who they are. And what you are doing when you go there, you are co-signing that suffering. And you are saying, I will be part of the distraction to that suffering. Remember, this is a regime, according to Human Rights Watch, that when people were trying to cross into their borders, by the way, border crossing, American shitlibs love to talk about this. Let's talk about this, right? They machine gunned them. They machine gunned them down. They laughed as they threw grenades and launched rocket-propelled grenades at people trying to cross their border. They mowed them down in their hundreds. This is a document. There's a 60-page document on Human Rights Watch. You can read all about that. And by the way, a lot of the people that got killed were coming from places like, where they were black. So, Black Lives Matter. Well, what about these black lives? No, you're gonna work with the people that took those black lives. And remember, it is the Saudi Arabian state. There's no degree of separation.
Also, if you're one of these people who, let's say, certain other Middle Eastern conflicts that are going on where you all hate kids being killed, look it up. Saudis have done stuff like bomb school bosses and stuff. Yeah, they've done all the shit that you cannot talk. Remember, what are those words you love? Genocide. They're like Hitler. You won't say that about the Saudis, by the way. They can't bank it on that.
And that's what I mean. I've just seen too much of how craven and cowardly people are on this particular topic. It is like, look, I get it. I know they're throwing shit tons of money everywhere, and we all want money, and we all want a comfortable life. But you just have to accept, and I feel like we end at this point on every episode of the podcast. You have to accept it's one or the other. It's one or the other. And if you ever come out and grandstand and with one hand grab the money and with the other hand you hold it up and you solemnly swear to uphold the values that are completely antithetical to that bag of cash you are holding in your left hand, you're going to get your card pulled. It's as simple as that. This is laughable. And this will get clipped and shown to him, and he'll come out and he'll do the usual, oh, what are you going to say? You're going to say we're secret bigots. Oh, we're so bigoted. We're the bigots. We're the ones standing up for the gay community. We're the ones standing up for the trans community. We're the ones saying we want women's rights in Saudi Arabia.
I'll go one further. I'll allow you to publicly call me a bigot. I don't agree I am one, but I'm fine. You can do it as long as you then, in the next sentence, say out loud the following words: Prince Mohammed Al Bin Salman of Al Saud is also a bigot, and he is involved with killing.
Fair.
Do that.
I'll take
have
that.
The balls. Keep the same energy, and I'll take it. There you go. Free shot from all of you. You get your one chance to do it. You won't say that sentence out loud.
They will not say
you
that.
Won't. You will never say that.
All
no
right.
matter what you were planted, you'll never say that sentence out loud.
We'll be back for the FGC soon, I think. This episode of the Four Horsemen is brought to you by Raycon and their everyday earbuds. I've got mine in black, but you can get them in a whole variety of colors if you have a different preference. And Raycon earbuds are great. They come with active noise cancellation as well as multi-point connectivity, so you can connect them to 2 different devices at once, which helps out if you're switching between Bluetooth devices. They've got a new cool mint color, so they constantly add new colors to those everyday earbuds, and they've got 32 hours of battery life and a quick charge for 90 minutes in just 10 minutes. So if you do 10 minutes of charging, you get 90 minutes of time on the earbuds. And of course, they have an awareness mode as well. So if you need to hear what's going on around you and you don't want that active noise cancellation on, that'll be an option for you too. So they're really wonderful products, guys. They're significantly less expensive than similar earbuds that have these really advanced features on them. The noise cancellation works great. I've used it on airplanes and it has been wonderful for me. So I would head on over. You go to buyraycon.com/horsemen, plural, MEN, to get 20% off site-wide today. That's buyraycon.com/horsemen to get 20% off site-wide today. buyraycon.com/horsemen. But let's talk about the Gaimin Gladiators, because if you guys don't know, in Dota, there has been a pretty big deal because the team Gaimin Gladiators, which over the last few years has been one of the top teams in Dota, although this past year has not had the same level of result, but they are a defending finalist of TI. So they played in the international last year against Team Liquid in the finals, have had a bit of a bumpy road this year, which I think, given what we're about to talk about, explains
They were also
some
arguably
of
the
that
best team
performance.
2 years ago, by the way.
Sure.
They had like an amazing run where they were in a million fight, won loads of events.
One of the most beloved teams, one of the best teams is the point, even if in very recent history they have not been among the best teams. They were given a direct invite to the international, and all of a sudden, a couple of weeks ago, the international official Twitter account makes the following announcement. It just says, announcement. On Sunday, the Gaimin Gladiators organization informed us that they were withdrawing their team from the international. After talking with the invited players directly, we learned they were unable to come to an agreement with their organization that would allow them to participate. We are now in the process of finding a suitable replacement team. To which the owner of Gaimin Gladiators, the co-founder and president, tweets the following. I want to share that Gaimin Gladiators won't be competing at TI this year. Well, you're quote tweeting the announcement, so it was someone else already shared it. But anyway, that's not the point. Some internal matters between the players and the organization made it impossible for us to move forward with a roster. For now, I can't go into more detail as there are legal considerations involved, but I will share more when I am able to do so. So, Richard, as the Dota-involved member, what is your take on this issue? Because obviously it's huge because TI is the most important tournament. To turn down a direct invite is insanity.
Yeah.
And also that the players couldn't actually just take the slot themselves without the org.
It's unprecedented in Dota history. So let's start there. For those that don't follow Dota but have enjoyed the righteous indignation of the Saudi segments and are still watching the rest of the episode, ultimately TI, while it's less true now, TI has historically been ultimately the be-all and end-all of Dota.
Yeah, not just the most important tournament, but basically the only tournament that matters.
Yeah, it was the one that, because the community are in themselves, the Dota community are weird, and they valued, for reasons, by the way, Valve must have been laughing all the way to the bank, quite literally, on this one. They managed to convince the Dota community that having a big prize pool, which, by the way, Valve are giving a percentage of all the money you spend, that having a big prize pool was a point of pride, and all Dota fans somehow lived vicariously through that, to the point.
Even though I said it was your own, in fact, it was like a quarter, something like a quarter of your own money, you idiots. It wasn't even from Valve.
Yeah.
They put like 2 million in the prize pool.
Yeah.
Like that, you know.
So it would start there, and then you would crowdfund the number up, and when it got to, like, you know, we had
which was epic,
20
yeah,
million.
obviously. Yeah,
everyone's like, oh, look at that. And then every year they wanted to beat it, and all they're doing, because they're idiots, they're just throwing money into Valve because they want the bragging rights, going, look, the International has 40 million. So it created...
For comparison, at the time, I think Worlds was like 1 million or 2 million. So it was like dwarf. Yeah, if you were like CS, you looked like small fries. You had to we got like 100k for first place for our majors.
What this created was a circuit where teams would only think and prep for TI. If there was a tournament too close to TI, we ain't going.
It's also famous, mate, that if you actually think you can't win TI, sometimes people break the lineup right before and have to do the open qualifier.
Yep.
So they might have already got the Dota points in that circuit and been like the 4th best team. But if you just know you can't win, people have done it. Not only after TI do you change roster, people have just gambled the whole year on TI.
The post-TI shuffle is
it's nuts,
a famous thing. And so anyway, a lot of that was predicated on that, because the community are great. We want to have a $40 million prize pool, but we don't want to have to buy hats and battle passes. They're bad. You're using FOMO. So Valve, in the not too distant past, turned around and said, okay, no more FOMO, right? No FOMO, they said, like Pasha Biceps. And they got rid of the FOMO, and basically they created esports-focused passes, where essentially, you know, you're just playing, you're making predictions. You're not buying an Arcana that's only there for a limited time only.
So when he says FOMO, by the way, to those non-Dota people, they were previously selling in-game items that were desirable to even not esports people. So like skins and stuff, right, Richard? And they turned around and be like,
it's almost like, Monty, that's a great business model to get people who like the game already to feel like, to be a collectivist about the game, I need to have that thing. Yeah. Only an idiot would go, I'd like to divorce that and make it only if you like a really obscure meta concept.
Only if you like a small, only if you're an esports fan of Dota in particular.
Basically,
surely that will do
what
better.
You're saying, Monty, is, can this fucking golden goose stop putting out golden eggs and just put out average ass eggs?
Yeah, like, can I have a real egg?
Where's all the gold?
Can I have a real?
Like, this is. I agree.
And by the way, they also do. You might be able to see it behind us, but they also do. If you got to like level 1,000, you got like a physical copy of the Aegis. They would send out,
which is cool, by the way.
You go a little bit further, you get like a baby Roshan, physical Roshan model. So, I've got some of them up on the shelf. I used to go deep in the battle passes back in the day. Not so much now, right? But I used to go, I was a minimum 1,000 guy. So, and I didn't mind supporting Dota, right? It's a game I love to watch. I love the community, love the scene, right? But like, when they started complaining about going, I don't like the FOMO mechanics, I'm like, here we go, the monkey paws curling up again, guys. And so lo and behold, the prize pool went down like something like, 2 mil, and everyone was going, that's it, Dota's dead, it's all over, why wouldn't Valve just give a proper battle pass? This is terrible, solo effort. Okay, wicked. And so obviously, over time, because these prize pools have been low, by the way, saying a $2 million, $3 million, $4 million prize pool is low really just shows you how spoiled the Dota community has been.
We're like something mad, like what? It's like 14, 15 years into the game. That's fucking amazing.
I know, exactly.
Still going.
If
that's a dead game, what was the rest of esports? I know.
You know what I mean?
What was the rest of esports if that's a dead game, bro?
Yeah, I know.
What are we covering?
Well, I mean, to the Dota community, they call it a dead game as well. It's still like the second highest played on fucking Steam.
I love how stupid that is. I know.
So anyway, I mean, they're just crazy over there. They're crazy over there. So anyway, they now we've got this TI, which isn't so much the be all and end all, but in terms of legacy, players still want to play it. I would say now there's more value in being the team of the year, like having a run where you win like 6 tournaments in a row or the most tournaments of a year, and just being a TI winner. And you probably would make more prize money doing it that way, although, of course, the anomaly, funnily enough, is Riyadh. They created the Riyadh Masters, which, by the way, they've lowered their prize pool from like 5 million to like 3.5. They do whatever necessary just to be the largest one on the calendar.
Right.
So, even, Saudi things. So anyway, all of that's important context because we are going to have to speculate a little bit about this. And that is that Gaimin Gladiators, an organization that are decent, they're certainly good enough to be competitive at a TI. Look, they haven't played their best Dota for a long, long time. That's got to be said. And they're definitely maybe not capable of winning trophies. You would think of a number of teams ahead of them. But, top 8 at a TI, still nothing to be sniffed at. And also, who knows what can happen at a tournament, high-pressure environments, etc.
Especially with veterans who can get their shit together.
Yeah, exactly. So it's crazy to see an organization withdraw, and to withdraw for no reason, like to present nothing, because it's like the thing they say in the statement was, despite our best efforts, the team representatives communicated the players' preference to compete independently without representing the Gaimin Gladiators banner. Due to rules governing roster changes, we could not guarantee a stable or eligible lineup for this year's TI. Under these circumstances, formally withdrawing was the only viable course of action.
And probably because the players, the players have contracts with Gaimin Gladiators, the team, and they can't compete independently, which, by the way, is completely reasonable. Players should not be able to pull out.
I guarantee you Valve hate it. I guarantee.
Yeah, by the way, that's the secret. If you're from another game, the key law here, we all know this in Counter-Strike, is what makes Valve extremely unique, actually, as a company, is the other companies are just businesses, so they want to deal with other businesses, not fucking little kids playing it. So if you're Riot, it was obvious Riot would always do a franchise system where the team bought in, and then they run shit, and then they pick the players for their team. Valve's whole MO, I've always said, is they must have fucking loved that movie, The Wizard, in the 80s, the one where it was just like random people playing Super Mario Brothers, and they got the world champ, because that's how they envision TI and the CS majors. They really believe and think this is possible, that if the three of us got together with two people and really tried so hard with that elbow grease, that we could be in the major final. Because why not? It's the dream of esports. So they're actually, if anything, the ultimate company, I can tell you from CS especially, where their motto is, it's not the org spot, it's the player spot. It's about the players. So that's why this is, to me, like a landmark case, which I'm shocked that this didn't immediately go the way of the players.
And also as well, because we're unsure what it's about, it sounds to me that there were some, I've got to be delicate with this, so it sounds to me like the org maybe wanted to make some changes ahead of TI, and it sounds to me like maybe the players didn't want to, or it could be vice versa. The players wanted to make changes but the org didn't want to, but certainly there seems to have been a dispute about who was going to be entered into TI, right? And ultimately, Gaimin Gladiators are so fucking wild as an organization, they'd rather not compete at all than have a team that appears to be unsettled in some way, which is mental. I mean, it's beyond crazy.
By the way, I only saw this story like from the outside and from a distance. I wanted to ask something. Are people speculating that like this wasn't just incompetence with how Gaimin Gladiators communicated this? Do people think it was sabotage, that they also wanted to sort of like burn the spot since they can't have it? Is that what people think?
So Gaimin Gladiators, and I know Kassad tweeted about this publicly. Gaimin Gladiators are in a weird spot as far as I can tell. I do believe they're part of the Esports World Cup club program, right? Which that gives me pause for thought, but I won't speculate down that road. But I will say I've heard stuff about the CS team that they sort of had.
It's just like a Danish lineup, I think.
Yeah, which doesn't sound great.
Right.
They not so recently got rid of the Rainbow Six roster. Which, whatever, I guess. But I don't know. I mean, a bit of a sidebar, there does seem to be a real issue with making Dota work financially. outside of even if you take the Esports World Cup stipend.
Right.
I mean, for instance, there was a headline. Talon had to put a statement out. The Talon organization, there was people saying that they were like they defaulted on $1 million loan or something, and they're like massively in debt and not paying their players. And unlike most organizations would do, they've come out and put a statement going, the allegations are kind of true and we're working on it. So, they obviously had a daughter team, and they seem to be struggling as well. I think it was Shopify Rebellion. TLO is a co-founder, I think, of that. He put a statement out when they walked away and got rid of their roster. And obviously, we're in this like weird, funky spot where a lot of orgs don't seem to think Dota is monetizable outside of, now that TI isn't insane and mega, and organizations can't like. A lot of organizations, for those that don't know, they had clauses in with their Dota team where if they ever won a prize pool above a certain amount, their share increased as well. We used to call that the Dota clause. I saw it quite famously for the first time 10, 20, I don't know how many fucking years ago, whenever Dota was kind of first being good, whenever the first TI was, basically.
It was 2011.
Yeah. So there you go, 14. So there was a clause in it that basically, I think it was back when they were Mouse Sports still, basically, if you won something over $1 million, then the fucking share shot up to like 40% for the org or something. So you were actually better winning 850,000 than you were winning the $1 million. Okay. There's your incentive structure in an esports org. Fucking insanely dumb, right? Because they only took 10% otherwise. So I've seen lots of that. But this doesn't seem to be about money per se. Quinn, and by the way, I think one of the reasons that this hasn't been a bigger deal is Reddit hates Quinn. Obviously, you might know him as CCNC, Cool, Calm, and Collected. But Quinn is one of those guys who's got a reputation for being toxic. By the way, met him in real life. Lovely guy. Not toxic IRL, and I don't. At
this point, if Dota 2 Reddit hits you, you're probably fucking cool as fuck.
I mean, and on top of that, by the way, like, there was a clip recently on Reddit where it was like some guy had come on and was like, he changed his Steam name to something like, I feel so sad. And he was just playing like dog shit Dota and like whining. And then he said he'd had a bereavement, right? He said he'd lost someone, like maybe his mother or someone. And like Quinn had been flaming him. And Quinn just said like, look, you've come into this game, your mind isn't right. You're just looking for attention. It's just fucking sort your head out before you come to the. Anyway, that was the premise of what happened there. And Reddit shit on him for it and said like, oh, he's unfeeling. He's a monster. It's like, he's not, man. He just fucking wants to win fucking games of Dota. Oh. He's a really fucking good player. I don't think he's as bad as people make out. And having met him in real life, I consider him a nice guy. So whatever. But anyway. He put a statement out after the Gaimin Gladiators statement, and he said that we explicitly communicated in writing, right, that we were ready, willing, and able to compete in the international under the Gaimin Gladiators banner. Gaimin Gladiators, however, refused to allow that current roster to do so. So, by the way, if this is all in writing, and I understand the matter is being litigated right now, this is all in writing. It's going to be very easy to prove that actually, they were willing to play. And spoiler, asking people behind the scenes, apparently they were. No one's given me the little nugget of information as to what the problem is. But again, the only thing I can even think of would be some sort of roster issue, some sort of roster dispute. Anyway, then Nick Coccovio comes out and he says, following that pull.
An unfortunate name for this time.
I know,
we're going to be adults about it. Exactly. We're going to be adults,
Especially if you're on the road a lot in hotels with a chair made just for you.
Come on, bro. Come on.
So anyway, he said, following the post from Quinn, where he stated GG made a unilateral decision to withdraw from TI, his statement is misleading. We did withdraw the team from TI. But this decision was predicated by a request from the team to terminate their contracts with Gaimin Gladiators so they could participate at TI's independent players. We agreed to this request and notified Valve that we would not be able to field a team for TI given their switch-out rules. The team did not engage with us to agree terms to settle, and by the time they decided they would participate in TI, we had no confidence that the team or members of the team would remain with Gaimin Gladiators or be in a position to represent the team and their colleagues at TI. Simply, it was the request of the team that precipitated this decision, their delay in making decisions and lack of preparedness to successfully achieve the desired outcome at TI that forced us to make this decision. There is still a lot more to this which I can't further speak of due to legal considerations. Now, what that says to me, as someone that's been around in esports quite a bit, is ultimately because the players wanted to withdraw from the organization have spat their dummy out and basically said, we'll let you do it, but you're going to have to buy yourself out the contracts or come to some
Which,
agreement.
by the way, I think is totally reasonable because the organization has been paying them. And obviously everybody wants to, they might have sponsors that are predicated on them attending.
Activision is based around it.
They signed a legal document.
I'll say one thing. I will say one thing. If it comes out later that those players haven't been paid,
sure, that's different.
And Gaimin Gladiators is trying to hold them to a contract that should be fucking nullified.
Right. If there's a contract breach on the side of Gaimin Gladiators, obviously that's different. But I understand why Gaimin Gladiators would be trying, being like, oh, well, you guys just go on ahead and play TI by yourselves without our org and all the business deals that we've made and all the money we've paid you. It's an absurd request.
It could also be, look, there's again, it could be Gaimin Gladiators has one of those clauses. Could be Gaimin Gladiators has a contract clause. The players have looked at it and thought, fucking hell, actually, we don't like it. In which case, buyer beware. You got to be careful of what you sign in this business.
Certainly.
So, it could be that the players are being arseholes. My read on this probably is that they're not. Look, I've been very vocal.
And you know what, Richard? I'll tell you another thing as well. As someone who has no information, I have zero inside sources. I haven't even tried to reach out to her. I'll tell you one thing I find very suspicious, Richard. If it's the case that it's the org owners who are in the right and they're the ones being fucked over privately, the idea that at a minimum they wouldn't reach out to journalists seems mental to me, Richard. There's one thing that those people know. You know this. Even if you've written stories on it in the past, or if they know your door's open and you're a legit person, they'll throw you the bone when they have the story, mate. If they know that there's something going on, they'll put the word out there. That's why the idea no sources come out, even with rumours are that's what makes me really wonder what this is about. It makes me err on the side of the players, put it that way.
Yeah. Also what makes me err on the side of the players is Owie 2000 said. Owie 2000, just a fucking legend, a really nice guy.
One TI is a player and a coach, by the way, legendary figure, and also one of the coolest people in the scene.
Yeah, really, really nice dude. I did have a little bit of not a disagreement with a stance he had at a PGL event over some drama that happened there. But whatever.
Fair enough.
We're not always going to agree. That's life. And he's a really good guy, full of integrity, knows his stuff. I don't think he'd wade in and say something like crazy.
If no one knows how legit this guy is, this guy won TI as a player. He was good, and he even agreed, yeah, you probably should kick me and just get art easy or whatever it was instead. That's how fucking legit this guy is, mate. I know what you mean, Richard. This isn't the person I see putting out bullshit.
Yeah, he's not some clout goblin drama merchant. No, you know what I mean? He just wouldn't get involved in that shit. So anyway, He said, I can't believe the statement from Nick Cucavio. In his own post, he says the following. 1, the players requested to play TI not under the GG org. Reasons currently not stated publicly. 2, in this statement, the GG org agreed to let them participate as independent players for TI. 3, GG org told Valve that they don't want the slot, and even though they agreed to let the players participate as independent players. 4, this was used as leverage at that point to try and force the players to agree to the org's terms. 5, the players agreed to play as GG, but GG org said they had no confidence that the team or members of the team would remain with GG or be in a position to represent them properly at TI. 6, they then blamed the players for delays in making decisions and their lack of preparedness to achieve a good outcome at TI. And that's what the GG org side has put out. Honestly, I've been in the Dota scene for 13 years. I've both seen and experienced scam orgs, scummy orgs, greedy orgs, stupid orgs, and pretty much everything possible. I've never seen something on this level where the org is stopping players from going to TI. It's crazy. And, look, what we can glean from what Gaimin Gladiators themselves have said is ultimately the final decision has rested with them. That whether they're in the right or the wrong, they're the ones that have prevented the players from going. And to be denied a TI, and that's a fucking big deal. Like, the reasons have to be correct. You have to have a valid contractual reason to do this. I'll also say, moving forward, if they don't and it comes out, good luck ever having a working relationship with Valve again. Valve's opinion is that TI remains the highest level for Dota. And they believe that all players that are good enough to compete at TI should be allowed to do so. If it was down to them, there would be no orgs. They would, if they could Thanos you out, they would.
I genuinely believe that, by the way. If players
100%.
were willing to pay themselves, I think they would just cut all logs out.
They believe that it's a player's story, and they love that,
Yes.
and they love the players. And one of the things they've become a little bit disenchanted about in recent years is players complaining on social media instead of going directly to them. Just back channel to us. We love you guys. Like, please. Like, we're trying to give you everything at TI. So ultimately, I think, like, if it then later comes out in the wash that Gaimin Gladiators have essentially denied a valid group of players a possibility to compete at a TI, then I don't know what Valve are going to think about that. I think it might be one of those things where maybe it's not said explicitly, but it could be a soft boycott or a soft blacklist, whatever you want to call it. I don't think Gaimin Gladiators would be welcome in Dota in the future if it comes out that they've denied players the right to compete. And also, it did fuck Valve over. Like, Valve had a bunch of, this is the domino effect of your decisions. Valve have launched the fucking pass. They've launched the equivalent of whatever the compendium is these days. It's already out there. People are making fantasy predictions this year. So how it works this year is you make your fantasy predictions, you earn points. If you're in the top percentile, you get like a free fucking Aegis and a year of Dota Plus, and also they're trying something new because it's also running perpendicular with they've got like another bunch of skins that you can earn for free for playing right now. So, like Papa Wanga Witch Doctor skin.
By the way, that's also another reason why, if you're Valve, you'd be pissed in theory if this was bullshit. Because think about what we just had in CS, Richard, where fans again naively think you can just like come the day before the event. No, they have to make all the fucking signatures in CS, and tell you what, that takes time.
They had to take their logo out. They've had to give people extra fantasy choices and roles because obviously it's an inconvenience. I've locked my fantasy. I have to go and redo my fantasy. I don't think Valve were obliged to give out anything, but it was a token gesture anyway, so whatever. But like, then they also had to find a replacement. They have to find a replacement team.
Right. And that replacement team is a Chinese team with some very well-known Dota players on it. Do you think that this is a fair replacement, given the situation that Valve was in? It's the Yakuto brothers team, Richard?
I mean, at the time of recording this, like, it starts in like 24 hours. So that was the timeline they were on to try and get another team in was pretty, also as well, there are teams that didn't qualify that had already blew up their rosters. They could have been asked. Now we'll never know. I mean, by the way, as well, like, I love Chinese Dota, so fucking can be all Chinese teams for me. I love those guys. So I think it's a good pickup. But I'm devastated for the players on Gaimin Gladiators, assuming it's not something they've done. It's like they probably had no chance of winning the event. But that's not the point. It's like you go and you compete at these things. You say I had all these placements at TI. Now your career's always going to have this asterisk about how you weren't at TI. Why weren't they at TI that year? We weren't at TI because of a contractual dispute with our org. That's fucking whack. So, I mean, look, Valve have done what they've had to do. But the bigger point is this. It's like, Gaimin Gladiators better have a good reason for creating this fucking brouhaha, or Valve are going to be pissed off. I'm not saying there was like capricious as like a riot games or whatever. But they do take note when organisation... TI is still very much their baby. They might not be as tethered to it as they used to be in past years, and they've given PGL a bit more carte blanche in how it's produced and everything, even to the point of they're now getting, like, I do believe, input into some of the creative aspects around TI. Like, you know, the themes and stuff. But ultimately, it's still very much their baby. The Valve people will be on site. You know, this is their big tournament. This is the jewel in the Dota crown as far as they're concerned. Riyadh Masters isn't going to replace it in the eyes of Valve, obviously. So you fucked with it. You fucked with it. You've put this weird, like, cloud over it, you know? So it's like Gaimin Gladiators better have a good reason. Now, obviously, what's probably likely to happen with the litigation is, first of all, I couldn't find it. So I don't even know if it's a proper lawsuit filing or if it's with a threat stage or the lawyer's letter stage or whatever. Maybe it's in a region I can't get it. You know, who knows? So there's that. The other part is this will probably never see the light of day. We're probably never going to get to the bottom of what actually happened. This is going to be innuendo and who, you know, he said, she said, because it'll ultimately get settled quietly. No one really wants to go to the mat for 5 fucking years on a contract beef. You know, because you know what it's like. Your lawyer, their lawyer, what's the first thing they do when they get in a room with each other? They go, let's stall this, brother. And they go, yeah, fucking right. And then they
by the way, 5 years is like either your whole or half your entire career. Like, who the fuck wants to deal with
exactly.
that? Yeah.
You know, it's like, put it this way, it's why I fuck with Sumail. Well, Sumail was embroiled in litigation with evil geniuses for years on a case that looked like a loser from the start, but he saw it out to the finish. And they did do him dirty. Yeah, sure, to the letter of the law, he's got no recourse. Yes. But that's not... We all know what's legal and what's ethical ain't the same fucking thing. So, I mean, look, it's probably another one of those things where the Dota community, they keep their own counsel. There's not a lot of gossips. They don't like to dish the dirt. You know, there's a meme right now, if you don't know, Suns fan, I would have loved him as a guest for this. But, you know, like, when there was all this, like, doom and gloom, Suns fan says there's an even worse story coming out, and it's worse. Well, you know, he did that. And then, obviously, it's just a meme. Like, everyone now says when a bad thing happens, is this what Suns fan was talking about?
Right.
And it was, so he gets wrecked for that, unfortunately, bless him. But, like, basically, you know, the Dota community, it's like they'll let the fans do the doom and gloom and the speculation. The talent, they'd have a tendency not to get involved. They're all very mature, sensible people, not a lot of drama frogs, you know what I mean? And so as a result, like, that, it's actually a scene now where it can keep a secret to a certain degree. So we might never get to the bottom of it, unfortunately. But my read, having looked at all the information and talked to a few people and heard a few insinuations, is ultimately that, you know, the players didn't want to be with Gaimin for whatever reason. Could be non-payment, could be something else. Gaimin Gladiators said, yeah, fine, but we need to negotiate your exit. Maybe those negotiables, those deliverables weren't conducive to the players, and ultimately the org essentially held on to that slot until it was impossible for them to have it. And then turned around and said, actually, because you're leaving us, you're not fit to represent Gaimin Gladiators, so fuck you. And if that is what happened and there's no good contractual basis for that, then fuck Gaimin Gladiators. I mean, sure. I'll excoriate them.
Well, I mean, I think this is something that will be resolved through either arbitration or litigation, right? So there'll be more to this at some point.
I mean, look, whether or not we'll hear about it, you know, a lot of these, I mean, even if it was litigated, you know, a lot of these agreements you sign a contract at the end to not talk about it. That's usually contingent to a lot of legal settlements if money's involved. But, you know, we'll wait and see.
Well, maybe someone accidentally, anonymously dumps a bunch of info to Richard Lewis.
Be terrible if that happens. Be terrible. I mean, I'll say this. I think I'm certainly going to be scrutinising Gaimin Gladiators now because I've heard, as if coming from the Counter-Strike side of things, I've heard some stuff. I'm well liked in Rainbow Six, even though I've got nothing to do with that community. I could probably turn over some stones.
The Rainbow Six community is actually really rad. I love those guys.
Yeah,
they're actually one of the coolest like esports communities.
Yeah, for sure. Shame about the game dev, but isn't that always the way? You know, isn't that? Just feel that's every game. Like, you get a cool community. Like, what's the bottleneck for your game not being super sick and like mega popular? Oh, the dev's an idiot. All right, yeah, cool. See ya. First time. You know what I mean? But anyway, so that's sort of the Gaimin Gladiators stuff. It's kind of all tame when you compare it to some of the other stuff we've been talking about. But I will say it remains an unprecedented moment in Dota history, which is that for an org to willingly withdraw from TI, which has been the holy grail of tournaments for Dota, especially upstart orgs like Gaimin Gladiators that want to make a name for
themselves. I still think it is the best tournament in esports. I'd go, it's just the best of the whole
format.
It's the only one that lays really claim to that in Worlds, maybe. It's the only one that lays claim to being like a Super Bowl level of it.
Well, the problem, Richard, is that the Worlds format is ass, so it's just not as good.
TI has it all. It really does have it all, yeah.
Whereas, the TI format is fucking boss. So
it's just the best one.
It's just the best one. What are you gonna do? Sorry, Monty.
No, well, I was gonna say let's wrap it up there for this week. Unless you have final thoughts on the Gaimin issue, it's developing. There'll probably be more to this.
Yeah, it's developing. I'll see and do what I can. I got a massive backlog of stories right now. It's just like one of those things. I'm more mired in the kind of like business side of esports right now, where it's just layoff after layoff after layoff. We got layoffs happening at G2. How many? Who knows? We've had a company go bust and declare bankruptcy or close in the form of Baze, which was an analytics company. Yeah, that Jens Hilgers might have been involved in. There's all this shit happening over here. And it's like not very interesting to the average esports fan. So I probably should dovetail, just be like, shelve that, dig into the Gaimin Gladiators stuff, see what I can find out. But obviously as well, everyone's at fucking TI. So who would I even talk to? It's just like fucking, it's a wasteland. It's just the
Gaimin Gladiators aren't at TI,
Well, yeah, true. Sorry, too soon, Quinn. My bad. But I mean, look, I just hope it's not an example of players getting shafted. Like, really,
sure.
Like, that would be one of the worst shaftings I could think of. Like, it's one thing to not get paid, but then if it's like not get paid and the whammy is you also don't get to compete, that's mental.
And then you don't get the TI prize pool as well, which is shit.
Yeah, exactly. And Quinn, whatever people say about him, he's a guy. He loves to compete. He loves to play Dota. He loves the Dota lifestyle. It's like the one thing that always brings him down when he's in one of his rages and he's having to make his third public apology of that month because of a Reddit thread. He always says he understands he's in a privileged spot, man. He does like it. He does love the life. So it's really sad to think that him especially isn't getting like a shot at TI.
All right. Well, that'll do it for this episode of the Four Horsemen. We will see you guys in another couple weeks. Until then, esports still end asked.